Hey, what's up guys? My name is Denmo.
Oh yeah, this video is definitely gonna trigger you, bro.
You chew very loudly. I could hear it.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, just don't let it happen again. Hey.
Do you mind? I might go.
Oh yeah, no, I'm just chilling. I'm not listening. I'm cool. So as everybody knows, women are supposed to do all the housework, cooking, cleaning.
Women are the product. How many girls do you know actually have hobbies? Dating is hard. Women have it easy.
A Hamilton YouTuber was sentenced to 3 years behind bars today for sexually assaulting a McMaster student back in 2020.
And for whatever reason, the government doesn't like me. The school boards don't like me. The cities don't like me. Okay, you gotta attend court, hire lawyers, pay fines, and get harassed by police at customs every time I try to leave the country. It just gives you a lot of anxiety when you can't trust your own government and you're terrified of a legal system that is supposed to protect you.
What you want to do is give a girl a lot of attention and then just pull back a little bit, and then she'll just start reaching out to you. It's manipulative. I agree. Use it with caution. But the problem is girls are manipulating guys too.
Okay, look at this chart, guys. This is one of my best charts. I know I say that every video, but I'm awesome.
You know what you need? You need to be thrown in the middle of the jungle. Women have higher standards than ever before.
So it's like we're at war here, you know?
Chad feedback, Chad here, Chad there. And then you guys rub off on each other, and that kind of makes you act like a Chad without being a Chad. So I almost got expelled multiple times in middle school. They thought I was going to be like a school shooter before school shooter was even a thing. Whoa. Like, I'm not even kidding. They thought I was bad. They thought I was trying to harm people in the class. Right? When men see a woman that a lot of men want to be with, they're actually disgusted and repulsed, right? Holy shit, I think I just exploded my own brain with all this Chad math I'm doing here.
Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Rachel and it is wonderful to have you here. The last couple of years I've spent a fair amount of time talking about dangerous men on YouTube. I've covered I'm Alex, Cody Co, Rushvi, a lot of like pickup artists and dating experts and so on. And recently it came to my attention that there is a man with a YouTube channel who is literally a convicted rapist on the sex offenders register apparently, who is awaiting trial for a second assault against a woman. And his whole YouTube channel is him posting misogynistic dating advice constantly. He is a convicted rapist who is teaching men how to treat women. If you can't see the problem with that, then I'm shocked. Jack Densmore, known as Denmo online, went on a date with a woman back in 2020, according to reports. He was 26 at the time and she was just 19. It apparently started out with consensual touching and kissing, but when it progressed to sex, he got his phone out to record her without her consent. She didn't want him to film her, then she decided she didn't want to have sex with him. She wanted the whole encounter to end, but he carried on and proceeded to rape her, apparently.
A Hamilton YouTuber was sentenced to 3 years behind bars today for sexually assaulting a McMaster student back in 2020. Up until just 1 day ago, Jack Densmore was posting on one of his YouTube channels to hundreds of thousands of subscribers.
Today, he was taken to jail after a judge sentenced him to 3 years behind bars for sexually assaulting a young woman in 2020. In 2020, Densmore was on a first date with a McMaster University student when they became intimate. At first, it was consensual, until Densmore pulled out his phone to start recording. Densmore argued he was recording a consent video, while the woman said it was his attempt to make a sex video. Densmore then had forced intercourse with the woman, sexually assaulting her, the judge decided. The judge reiterated today that a sexual assault is a very serious act of violence, one that requires a penitentiary sentence, although he did take into consideration that this is Densmore's first offense. Densmore is facing another charge of sexual assault in an unrelated case involving a different woman. That trial is pending.
But after the trial, Justice John Krochenko ruled that it ought to have been clear to the accused that he had overstepped and she was no longer consenting. He said Densmore mistook her body language for consent as the sexual activity progressed. The judge cited Mr. Densmore's recklessness and willful blindness and failure to take any reasonable steps in the circumstances to ascertain if the complainant consented. And he rejected part of Densmore's testimony in court as unworthy of belief. Hamilton's Sexual Assault Center says consent has to be ongoing and is essential to a healthy relationship.
During and after his trial, reporters said Jack Densmore has showed no remorse, he has taken no responsibility, and he believes he is the victim. As of December 2024, he was found guilty of rape and sentenced to 3 years in prison. News articles state that to further show his disrespect for the court, each time the judge mentioned the devastating impact the rape had had on the victim, who was in the courtroom, Densmore shook his head and made faces, which tracks with what I now know of him based on his content. The article went on to say, Assistant Crown Attorney Bruce Sosa asked for a sentence of 3.5 to 4 years in prison. Defense lawyer Mark Famey asked for less than 2 years of house arrest. He ended up being sentenced to 3 years in prison. And this was not an isolated incident, as apparently the 30-year-old, now a registered sex offender, has another trial involving a different woman scheduled for September. In that matter, he faces charges of sexual assault, voyeurism, and distributing intimate images. So this is clearly a dangerous man who is a danger to women. And even all these people who are normally like, oh, innocent until proven guilty, stop believing women and all that nonsense, surely can't deny that this has happened, right? He's literally being convicted. He was literally found guilty in a court. Do you know how difficult it is to prove sexual assault happened and be found guilty of it? It's incredibly difficult. And yet he was found guilty. That says to me that he's probably guilty. But here's the thing. He's not yet in prison. He is still posting on YouTube. I can't quite find an exact reason as to why, but from what I can tell, and please correct me if people know more about like Canadian law and have found other sources for this. But basically, his guilty verdict came back. He was sentenced to 3 years in prison. However, his defense lawyer put in an appeal about sentencing, and until that happens, he won't be in prison but out on bail, which kind of seems ridiculous to me.
Densmore's lawyer, Mark Famey, says the conviction will be appealed.
The notice of appeal has already been filed with the Court of Appeal, and we are awaiting a decision about bail pending appeal.
Jack Densmore appeared confident going into court this morning for the verdict.
Can't wait to win.
After the judge brought down that verdict, Densmore was looking toward an appeal.
I'm innocent, and I can't wait to appeal it, man. That's all I gotta say, really. Everybody knows I'm innocent.
He was initially arrested in 2021. His court case for this particular trial was meant to be April 2024, but it didn't end up happening until November and December 2024. He was sentenced then, he was found guilty then, but now with this appeal, he won't get another date in court for another few months, and then he won't face his punishment or have his sentence carried out until then. And like I say, on top of all this, he's awaiting another trial for another accusation against him. A news article says of that second allegation that the second alleged victim, she has since reported her allegations to the Hamilton Police Sexual Assault Unit, and an investigation is underway. Police spokesperson Jackie Penman confirms a second complainant has come forward and detectives are investigating. No charges have been laid yet. The Spectator has chosen not to name the latest complainant because the sexual assault investigation could trigger a publication ban on her identity. The woman says she was at a party at Densmore's home on Hamilton Mountain and she got drunk. They were in a relationship at the time. She says she fell asleep in Densmore's bed and alleges she woke up to find him penetrating her. The woman says she did not report anything to police at the time, however she did confide in 2 friends at the time. The Spectator has spoken to those friends, one of whom has been interviewed by the police. Since the story was published, to the best of my knowledge, charges have been filed against him and he's awaiting trial, I believe. I just find it completely ridiculous that not only is a convicted rapist walking around free without having faced any punishment yet, but that he is still able to make money from YouTube by posting misogynistic videos and teaching other men how to date. He's a danger to women, and yet he makes his income off telling other people how to treat women. That's terrifying. I've asked this before and I'll ask it again. Does YouTube not have a responsibility to protect its creators and audience members in some way? As it stands, from what I can tell, Jack is limiting comments on his channels and has certain words blocked and immediately blocks anyone who asks about the crime of which he has been found guilty. So it's really hard for people to fully understand who they're watching and what he's like. I'm not necessarily saying YouTube should outright ban him, but I'm not sure a convicted rapist should be making money off essentially teaching other men how to rape women. And if he is still allowed to post on YouTube and say whatever the hell he wants, then if YouTube can correct medical and scientific misinformation in videos, then why can't they put a warning under his videos, for example, saying, hey, by the way, just so you know, this guy's got this criminal record, he did this, blah, 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 should maybe know who you're watching, you know? Just saying, it's an idea. Today, though, I thought I would educate people about who Jack Densmore really is, not only in terms of his criminal past, but his content on YouTube. He's had about 10 channels over the years. I think 6 or 7 of them are still up and live, and he's still posting frequently on quite a lot of them. And today I thought we'd look back at his history in kind of mostly chronological order and talk about it. So from what I could find, there are 7 YouTube channels that are currently live today that we are going to be talking about. There may be more. Oh my god, every time I thought I covered all his content, I just found more and more and more. This man is everywhere. It's scary. So first up, there is the Jack Denmo channel, where he got popular for interviewing drunk students and making stupid prank videos. There's the Jack Denmo podcast, which he didn't post on for very long, thankfully. That was very short-lived. There's the Good Bro, Bad Bro podcast, which has some infamous clips which are known for being completely stupid, like this one.
How many girls do you know actually have hobbies?
This one got big on TikTok a while back. It's actually this clip that was how I found out about him, because it was reposted on Reddit recently. So shout out to that post. There is the Denmo channel, which is the main channel he now posts on with dating advice, videos about why women are bad, pseudoscience about how men strong, women suck, and nonsense about how to be a big, successful, alpha male businessman like him. No, it's quite funny. There's also a channel called Fork, spelled F-A-W-K, which is mostly just him interrupting college classes online during the pandemic and lockdown. We're not really covering that much. It's not that interesting. And then I also found a channel called Honest Men, which is just a low-effort reaction channel to stupid videos. And finally, I found Denmo Dating, which, like I say, is a convicted rapist who is apparently on the sex offenders register giving out dating advice. You can't make this nonsense up, can you? So let's start with the Jack Denmo channel, his first and original and biggest channel. Let's take a look at how he introduced this channel, which started off being called Life of Jack, before later changing it to Jack Denmo.
Is this gonna be like, oh yes,
Pornhub?
wait, is this YouTube?
Yeah.
Oh! Yeah. No.
So real quality content here. He was really picking out the best of the best clips to get people hooked, wasn't he?
We have a couple questions. They're all very bad, very cringe, very stupid. But that's okay.
I'm already cringing.
It's not too personal.
It's very personal. It's Life of Jack. Hey guys, it's Jack, and we're gonna have a fun time.
This whole intro does kind of sum up a lot of who Jack is and what his content is. He has no charisma. His videos are mostly, or his earlier videos at least, are mostly just drunk people screaming and occasionally using offensive slurs, shaky camera footage of him recording drunk people fighting, him sloppily kissing drunk girls while he was sober. And I just think it's very telling, because if this is how he wants to be represented, then I think that shows us a hell of a lot about his values. This really was the main content on his channel at the time. Him being completely sober and a grown man in his mid to late 20s, going to university campuses to find drunk 18-year-olds, mostly young girls, to film and exploit so he could make money from them. You can see from half the videos that they didn't even fully understand why they were being filmed. It's all super exploitative and inherently predatory. I actually feel weird even showing you these clips, but I think I do need to show you at least a couple of them to demonstrate a few points. One being that Jack did not get popular because of his own personality. He has absolutely no presence on camera. I've said it before about people, but he has less charisma than a stick of celery, and honestly less energy too. Half the time he looks like he doesn't even want to be there, and the only emotion he ever displays is contempt for the women he's apparently interviewing, if you can even call it interviewing. And secondly, I need to point out that he has repeatedly and always gone out of his way to only interview a certain kind of person when they're in a completely intoxicated state, so that they can all share a certain viewpoint, because he's trying to push a narrative that all women are toxic and selfish and shallow. It's the same thing that men on Red Pill podcasts do, where they only invite OnlyFans models that have very specific kinds of experiences and values onto their show, and then they try and paint all women as having the same values as them. Or, you know, the men who use sugar baby sites for dating and then complain that the women they meet are only after them for their money. Like, that's not the exact point of those apps. It's not a dating app. Those are women essentially doing sex work, right? You can't only go to sex workers and then complain that you're only finding sex workers. Do you know what I mean? He's specifically finding certain types of women in order to portray all women in the way that he wants them to be portrayed, which is negatively. If he'd gone out to find other women who were at different stages of life or with different experiences, then you would find women with different values. You would realize that all women are very different, you know? We're not this monolith. And it's not just the specific kinds of women he chose to feature either, but the men too, because he did also interview drunk men. And so many of them are just so aggressive and resort to misogynistic insults, calling women hoes and bitches and other gross stuff like that. There's a hell of a lot of slut shaming in his earlier videos, both from the people being interviewed and from Jack himself with his leading questions about things like how many people is too many to sleep with, and him asking what is an appropriate time to have sex with someone you're dating, and so on. He asks these leading questions, implying that there's only one right or standard answer that everyone should be giving, and if they don't, he shames them for it.
Well, there's mother. If they have a sense of humor, if they have money to pay for the first date.
What's some advice for somebody on their first date?
On their birthday?
Yeah, first date.
First date? Yo, listen, play it easy, and then you'll get second date, and then it's easy.
Hey guys, what's up? It's Jack, Life with Jack, best channel on YouTube. I'm on location at Today we're finding out, would you rather go a month without your phone or a month without? We're heading out to Hess tonight. We're gonna find out what's better, big or big wallet. Big or big wallet, come on, let's go.
Get big. Big wallet. Don't make us feel shallow. Come on, we're gonna say wallet.
Straight up, you gotta say, look, I'm sick of being a friend. You wanna fuck what? If she's not about it, then fuck that bitch.
Dick is too small for your friend.
I'm gonna say 10 or more. 10 or more, and if she's too experienced, she doesn't know what the good tastes like, you know what I mean?
Too many, you think?
Well, more than 10, I absolutely.
I must have to say at least like 7, you know, because 7's in between 10 and 5, and 5's like a little too less for the nice experience, and 7 is a little too many for the whole experience. If you're over 7, you a hoe. If you under 5, you working on it. Hey, Lauren!
And when he does find women who don't fit the mold that he wants to portray all women as, he doesn't know how to respond, he doesn't know how to answer, so he just resorts to mocking them instead, because he doesn't actually have any intelligence, any ability to process original thoughts, any creative thinking skills. He doesn't have any of that, so he doesn't know how to respond to an actually intelligent woman who is making good points.
Big or big wallet?
Big feminism. We can do it ourselves.
Holy shit. It's a great honor to be able to introduce for the first time ever.
Patriarchy.
Big.
You can get a big wallet yourself.
I am gonna get a university degree. I can have my own big wallet, but I would have a big
What are you studying?
psychology.
Hemos llorado los dos.
Psychology.
Voy a la playa, había subido la marea.
Okay.
That's what you got.
Like fat as like she's gross.
Big fat. Why is that a bad thing, mother?
No, if you don't like her though.
I also have to question both the sanity and the taste levels of anyone who ever found this content entertaining. And there wasn't just underlying misogyny in his videos, but also homophobia and transphobia too, as seen by when he decided to mock people at a pride parade. The longer it went on, the creepier and creepier it got too. Here he was in 2021 as a 27-year-old man making what he calls movies about university homecoming parties. This is a man nearly 10 years older than most of the people he's filming and hanging out with and exploiting for money. It is damn weird. His other style of content at this time was pickup artist type content, where he would go and bother teenagers just going about their day, trying to live their lives, trying to study at university, and he would film himself trying to hit on them. Again, this is a man in his mid to late 20s hitting on teenagers for money. It's creepy. If you've seen any of my content before, you will know that I am not a fan of pickup artists. Laura Bates has an excellent chapter on the community in her book Men Who Hate Women, and she compares them to incels, which I know Jack would hate because he says he hates incels. He's not an incel, definitely not. He could never be an incel, he gets too many girls for that. Don't compare him to an incel. But I'm comparing him to an incel, and Laura Bates does the same thing. She says that pickup artists and incels actually have a hell of a lot in common because, and to quote her, both groups depend on the separation of men and women into narrow, highly stereotypical categories. Both cast heterosexual sex as the pinnacle of male achievement and portray women as little more than objects whose sole purpose is to provide sexual pleasure to men, like some kind of pornographic slot machines. And if you're doubting me, don't, because in the very last section of this video, you will see Jack say exactly this. He says women are just sexual objects. Can't make this stuff up. Laura goes on to write, "We are talking about an industry that exploits men's worst fears, preys on their vulnerabilities, and literally trains them in harassment, stalking, and even sexual assault." This is what Jack's content is. Laura goes on to write, "Targeting shy or romantically unsuccessful men as their disciples, so-called pickup gurus offer exhaustive, specific instructions for the entire span of a sexual encounter. The problem is that much of their advice is at best deeply misogynistic and at worst can be described as a manual for sexual violence. Some of the pickup community's biggest rock stars are men who have openly admitted to rape or have advocated for its legalization on private property. These are the experts charging thousands of pounds to pass on their wisdom to other men. What's most chilling is the fact that their courses are usually sold out, which is exactly what we've seen with Jack. Not only was his free content creepy, but he also sold pickup artist courses at the time, and we now know he's a convicted rapist. It is a pattern. We've seen people like Rouge Fee and even Mark Manson, and this one shocks people and they don't believe me, but in one of my past videos we looked at his book Models, where in it, like I say, people like Mark, people like Rouge Fee, literally recount stories of sexual encounters they've had with women, which are just rape. You know, they talk about women saying no and them holding them down anyway. They talk about women saying no and then having to manipulate and coerce them into sex. These acts they describe are just rape. Jack never admits to raping anyone. He says he never has and blah blah blah. However, he's a convicted rapist. So take from that what you will. Let's take a look at a few of his clips, and please be warned because he frequently uses offensive terms like the R slur, which I have tried to mute out in all the clips, but honestly he uses it so frequently and he swears so damn much. Like, he can't go 3 words without swearing. So I've tried to mute everything I can, because YouTube, but apologies if some slip through because there's just so damn many of them. There's also plenty of subtle racism in these videos. He often negs these girls. There's just a lot of really bad behaviour in them. He's not the most aggressive pickup artist out there, but I still don't think any of this is a positive thing. He's still not being respectful to women. He's still treating women as objects. You'll also notice that in a lot of these clips, he's straight up lying to women about who he is and what he does. He's not a student like he says he is, he changes his name constantly, and in some clips he has friends with him who are doing the same thing, but they do respond really damn aggressively to rejection, So there's a couple of clips where like the friends will get rejected and they turn around calling women lame and boo and swearing at them. And one man like followed a woman when she rejected him and just wouldn't hold. Like it's aggressive. It's a bit scary. If you were this woman, you'd be terrified.
Yeah, I'm in second year commerce.
Oh, okay.
Summer student though, I'm kind of a so
Okay.
failed. Is your name Wi-Fi? Because I feel a real connection right now.
Cool.
Not bad, eh?
Yep, not bad at all.
Really gets my nipples hard. So. I'm going to Cuba. Looking for a big booty Judy. Excuse me?
Yes.
Are you from Mexico?
No, I am. Why?
You are?
Yes.
Because you're the Juan for me.
Yes. How can I help you?
I'm Jack.
Oh.
Is there a way I can get your number?
I actually have a boyfriend.
You have a boyfriend? That's the lamest excuse.
Sorry.
That's the lamest excuse.
I do. I have.
Okay.
Ooh, what happened to the screen?
I don't really care with my phone. Also clumsy, so.
Most women are. Just take mine.
Wow, very demanding. I might not text you back.
I'm very needy. And by needy, I mean I'm an asshole.
Wow, at least you're open about it. A lot of guys aren't.
Those guys are
Sure.
Here's the thing, guys.
Yeah.
You see, I wanted her number, but I wanted to make her jealous first.
True. Yeah.
So, Natalie, whip it out. I'll dial those numbers in, and we'll call it a day.
There we go.
See, it works. Yeah. Okay. Becca, you chew very loudly. I could hear it.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, just don't let it happen again. But I do have to run. Like I said, I'm new. Do you want to like grab coffee sometime? It'd be pretty cool. Hey, I was actually about to sit here.
Oh, that's okay.
No, you could sit with
No, I have to
me.
meet a friend anyways.
I'm new.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Are you new?
I'm a first year.
Oh, me too.
Elizabeth.
Elizabeth, you got a manly shake on you, Elizabeth.
Oh, thank you.
What about you?
Thank you.
Emma, are you a little bit cold there with your? You got the sweater going?
I'm always cold.
I'm sweaty.
Like I say, you'll notice he does all the typical pickup artist techniques. Negging, light touching, or kino, as they often call it. Invading women, or in these cases, girls' personal space. And while most of Jack's videos play picking up women in a way as being just a joke for content, it still tells us a lot about what he thinks of women. And to this day, he uses these videos as an example of what like a good pickup artist he is, how successful he is with women. So even though he's kind of acting like he's playing it for jokes, he's also like, no, look, I'm really serious. Look how successful I am and how like, well, I've done this and I'm going to use these videos to teach you how to do the same thing. He literally later on calls them like a step-by-step guide, you know? I have to admit though, one of the things I found the most shocking was just how many women and girls actually gave him their phone numbers. And I have to ask, one, is it just because they're young and flattered by the attention because they're not used to it? Because, you know, they're naive and inexperienced because, you know, a lot of them are barely 18. Or two, was it because so many women are conditioned from a young age to not say no to men, so they don't even know how to say no, so they just gave it to him anyway? Three, was it all staged for videos? Or four, were they just giving him a fake number? I find it very hard to believe there were this many women who actually found him attractive or interesting or appealing. And again, I have to ask, what did the people watching these videos ever get out of it? It's clear that he wasn't targeting individuals he was actually interested in. He was just going after as many people as he could and picking out ones that he thought might be easy targets and just casting the net as wide as possible to get as many numbers as possible with as lower effort as possible. And again, this is something he brags about doing on his Denmo dating channel to this day. He's like, here's how to get the most dates possible with as low effort as possible. He literally admits this is what he was doing. This kind of behavior doesn't teach men how to find a partner or connect with women or treat women as individuals. It teaches them to try and collect women like their Pokemon cards. It is dehumanizing, it is commodifying, it's inherently misogynistic. Again, to go back to Laura Bates and her work and quote her, she writes, "Here's the thing about pickup artistry. For something that claims to be all about making a connection with someone of the opposite sex, the advice given is extraordinarily focused on putting up barriers between men and the women they approach. Instead of being open to women's feelings and needs, acolytes are taught to ignore and deny them. Instead of mutual pleasure, the focus is all on the man's needs at the cost of the woman's choice. Instead of finding a woman they like, pickup students are encouraged to find any woman and force her to change." And because of this attitude that pickup artists have towards women and are taught to have by people like Jack, it should be absolutely no surprise to anyone that there is absolutely a correlation between someone being a pickup artist and their likelihood of sexually assaulting someone. When Laura immersed herself in the world of pickup artists and their forums, she found that, and again I quote, "If it sounds like an exaggeration to suggest that men slavishly immersing themselves in the world of pickup ideology might end up actually assaulting women in real life, the evidence reveals otherwise." In 2016, 3 self-proclaimed pickup artists were jailed after a woman they targeted tracked them online and found detailed lay reports describing her own rape on pickup websites. 2 of the men were so-called instructors for a company called Efficient Pickup. The 3rd was their student. While it's rare for these cases to hit the headlines, it's not unusual to see them cropping up on pickup forums. When a user posts in another thread asking for advice on persuading a virgin to sleep with him and his friend simultaneously, another man simply suggests, "rape it." Yet another thread sees a man complaining that his girlfriend isn't in the mood for sex, saying, "She says she hates me insisting, I'm getting frustrated and horny and could possibly rape her." A few hours later he updates the thread, "Done, effed her brains out till she cried." The emphasis on reporting back to the community, playing to the crowd, only promotes the escalation of such violence as members jostle and vie for each other's attention and respect. And I've personally seen this pattern before. Like I say, remember when I made the videos on Rushdie and Mark Manson? Both of those men's books included accounts of them coercing and raping women, and it's treated as normal, as though these are accomplishments to brag about. They basically provide a step-by-step guide for how to rape women. It is sickening. Let's move on a little though and take a look at some of the other content that he was producing at this time. He was also making prank videos, again mostly at the expense of women and girls, with titles like "Teacher Hitting on Students Prank," "Rejecting Girls Prank," "I'm Breaking Up With You Prank," and so on.
Even though it's actually cool though, because since I'm not an official teacher, I could still smash students, right? So.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess.
Hey guys, what's going on? Today I'm at Guelph University and I'm the coolest teacher ever.
Hey.
Hi.
Heard you were a bad girl. Is that true? Do we have to be quiet in the library? I don't care.
Okay.
This is my library.
Okay.
So, what time should I pick you up later? Here, give me your phone. We'll make this quick. I gotta teach a bunch of idiots in like 30 minutes. Here. I'm looking for bad girls.
Can you imagine being an 18-year-old girl just trying to study and having this sweaty gremlin invade your personal space and pretend to be a teacher just so he could hit on you? It is predatory as hell. This isn't funny. This isn't a joke. You're messing with her education and making young girls very uncomfortable. That's not okay. That's not a harmless, silly prank. It's predatory.
I'm a new teacher here. I think you're really pretty.
Thank you.
Do you want to go on a date sometime?
No, thank you. I have a partner.
Oh, you have a partner? Are you a lesbian?
No.
Oh, okay.
Hey, buddy. Hey. This is actually my spot. I reserved it. Yeah, like I booked this table. Yeah. So could you like move somewhere else? Yeah, cool. Thank you. I'm a teacher, so A little quicker, please. Yeah, that's good. It's like wet there. It's wet. Okay. Fuck.
Literally, the only joke here is, ha, I'm faking a position of power so I can make people uncomfortable and abuse that power. Isn't that funny? No, it's not. There's a whole other prank where he just goes up to random women and asks them out just so he can turn around and say, "No, I have a girlfriend," when they say yes.
Grab coffee sometime. You down? Cool. Give me your phone number. Okay, so what's your number? Actually, I have a girlfriend.
Oh, do you?
get her phone number before you guys leave.
Okay.
Yeah, what is it? Just kidding, I have a girlfriend.
Okay.
Again, the joke here is, let's commodify women and make them feel bad and publicly humiliate them so I can make money off their humiliation. Also not funny. Also not a prank. And also I've cut the sound on these clips, but he just put these girls' actual phone numbers in the video for anyone to hear and use. He had hundreds of thousands of viewers at this point, and he was potentially opening them up to hundreds of thousands of creepy predators phoning and texting them. That's not okay. Absolutely not okay. Oh, and let's not forget the clips of him calling strangers the C word for literally no reason.
Anyways, today we're at the beach. We're going to be going up and breaking up with strangers. This has been done a million times, but I don't give a f. We're going to do it again. Anyways, yeah, let's go break up with some people we don't know. Sorry. Let's go break up with some random we don't know.
Again, where is the humour? This isn't a prank. A lot of his actions led to him being banned from a number of university campuses around Canada because of students complaining that he made them feel uncomfortable, so that's a positive thing. Hey all, editing me just jumping in here, because I was doing a little bit more research last night in between editing, and I found this Reddit post from, well, basically it was a person saying that Jack Densmore had approached them and a friend at I believe it was a festival. And for one of these like prank videos, or like questioning the public videos, and they'd made them super uncomfortable because not only were they at this festival just trying to have fun and relax, but Jack proceeded to ask them incredibly transphobic questions. Like, they kept pushing, what is a woman? What is a woman? What is a woman? And we all know that is basically like a right-winger's question. Matt Walsh kind of popularised it, but it was always going on before. And it's basically meant to be a dig at trans women. I've been like, oh, you know, trans women are real women, which of course they are. So if anyone is like, what's a woman, what's a woman? Clearly he's aiming to get transphobic responses, right? And this person said that when them and their friends didn't respond in the way he wanted, he was kind of berating them a little bit, shaking his head, you know, being judgy. Jack actually responded to this on Reddit and was like, oh, I didn't even do anything wrong. Sorry I bothered you, but I didn't do anything wrong. It's an innocent question. And I'm like, come on, mate. You can't keep doing it. You'll see he does it later with a podcast thing that he got criticism for as well. He'll say these horrific things, and he knows exactly what he's doing. And then when he's called out for it, he's like, ugh, you're reading too much into it. It's your fault. It's just absolutely pathetic. But yeah, just wanted to jump in and say that. Also, sorry, I'm not long out of the shower, so I'm a bit scruffy. Excuse that. Then moved on to exploiting other kinds of people when he made a documentary about homeless people in Vancouver, but it was absolutely not handled sensitively or with care. It featured cheesy horror film music, bad jokes, and just a lack of human decency and compassion. It's funny that he claims he wants to be a serious actor, a serious filmmaker. He's making real movies, documentaries, when so many of his videos are just poorly made, they're crass, they're insensitive, they have no entertainment value, no education value, they're not even interesting to watch.
East Hastings is widely regarded as the most dangerous street in North America. Well, besides Mexico, obviously. It is a hotspot for homelessness, drug use, and crime. It's awesome. Some would even argue it's a tourist attraction in a really dark, f***ed up way. Instead of doing interviews during the daytime, like a pussy, I decided to go at nighttime. The most sketch time possible. Saturday night, days after a Value Village was burned to the ground. Walking into this place felt like a bad drug trip. Streetlights were blinking, there were weird noises, sirens, and everybody was staring at me. Which I don't blame them. I'm a great looking guy. Dudes on bikes would come out to us in the background and tell us that we were going to get jumped and that we can't point our cameras a certain way. You know, yada, yada, yada. Same bullshit I've heard a million times. We kept filming.
Like, these are actual human beings who are struggling and hurting. Some may have mental and physical health problems. Some may and do have substance abuse issues. Some may have been hurt and abused in the past. And Jack is like, ooh, let's make some edgy jokes, play horror film footage and sound effects while I make money off mocking them. That's literally sickening. I'm not saying you can't document people in difficult situations, because some people can do that sensitively and for a good reason. But it should be done with care and compassion, with the intention to educate people and help people, not whatever the hell this is. Louis Theroux, for example, is legendary for documenting some really dark subjects, but he always handles them with care. He speaks to people calmly but firmly. He genuinely cares. He's kind. He's compassionate. He genuinely gets people help when they need it. He's everything Jack Densmore will never be. You might have also noticed there were plenty of clips of people asking him not to film them, and he just didn't care at all. He did. He has absolutely no consideration for other people and their boundaries. I've blurred the clips of the people asking him not to film them, but Jack did not. That blurring is mine. And I'm just going to remind you of a parallel here. People said to him, please don't film us, get out of my space. And he said no and continued filming and continued being in their space and then bragged about it later. The rape he's convicted of happened when he tried to film a girl without her consent. She said, please don't film me, get out of my space. He said no and continued to film and continued to rape her. He's done exactly the same thing to a woman as he did to countless homeless people in this documentary, and some people still think he's innocent and that this rape is something he would never do, despite the fact we've literally seen him cross boundaries in the same way before. This is a pattern of behavior for him.
So after about an hour of filming, we were struggling to get any interviews. People were abrasive and aggressive, and we were getting eyed up by many sketchy looking dudes who walked around us with their hands in their pockets, seeing how we reacted to being followed and watched. Our camera gear looked like a nice, tasty pork chop, or rather, something that could be traded for drugs. It is the most concentrated area of high people I've ever seen in my life, and I've been to a lot of raves. And when I mean high, I mean it looked like The Walking Dead. People literally hunched over in comas like they were visiting God. Now this is something that terrifies most people, which is why everybody avoids the area like their step-parents.
I just don't see how you can talk about something so serious and be making stupid jokes like this, and then be cutting in footage of zombies and playing zombie noises over video of real people abusing substances and still expect to be taken seriously. You can't call this a documentary. This is just exploitative poverty porn. He had one other style of content at this time, and this was vlogging his day-to-day life. These videos are boring as hell, but honestly the least offensive of the lot, so that's something at least.
Hey guys, what's up? We had a rat problem and a roach problem at one of the houses we manage. And basically the way the rat poison works is it takes like a day or two to actually kill the rats. Apparently the guys in the basement found a bunch of dead rats, so we're gonna go there, clean them up, get rid of them.
Upstairs? Yeah, you wanna come look at it?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. We just got pest control done on this place, and apparently there's a big dead rat upstairs.
Thrilling. So thrilling. Can you tell how thrilled I am? So yeah, apparently he wanted to brag that he's this big entrepreneur who manages all these properties that are falling apart with major pest problems and clearly aren't sanitary enough to live in. He's just scummy through and through. Straight after showing a bunch of rat corpses, he cuts to the most pointless scene ever of a bunch of random people sitting in a small room playing Xbox with literally nothing happening.
Okay, everybody can f*** off. DK is mine. Just pick one. No. Please pick something easy. I cannot do anything complicated. I can't.
And I'm sorry, but how self-absorbed do you have to be to think that people will be entertained by you zooming into your blank, empty face like this? It's dull. This isn't entertainment. This didn't need to be online. Again, at least it's not an offensive thing he's doing. It just shows he has this massive ego and doesn't understand how to actually create valuable, entertaining, or interesting content for people. And then the vlog ends with him telling some girl to clean that wall, woman, and that's it.
So you clean that wall, woman?
This subtle misogyny from him is something we'll see in his later vlogs as well on a different channel, but don't worry, we'll get to that. I know I've always joked that if I ever vlogged my life, it would be dull as hell, but somehow this video manages to be even duller than my own life is. Also, I'm sorry, but this is so poorly filmed, and has this man ever heard of colour grading in his life? I don't think so. Right, let's move on. Next up, we are going to take a look at his first podcast, which is the Jack Densmore podcast, which thankfully didn't last very long. His podcast channel was mostly boring as hell, and it's also quite telling, because out of 21 videos that he made for this channel, only one of them featured a woman as a guest, and even then he just referred to her as Toronto's top lesbian, which feels a lot like he's just another creepy straight guy fetishizing women who like women. And even in the beginning, he didn't manage to pronounce her name right. Like, I get it, if you only ever, like, read a name and you're trying to give it your best shot, you might still mess up, but at least you're trying, because sometimes it's hard to know how to pronounce things, right? That's totally fair. But this woman is right there in front of you. Ask her before you start filming. Don't bring her onto your podcast and be like, oh, wait, how do I pronounce your name again? It's giving Predator guy from the Reality Check podcast who couldn't even remember Rebecca's name when interviewing her. Same vibes.
Today I'm joined by the first ever woman, the first ever girl from Vietnam, and the first ever lesbian on the show, Monica Nguyen.
Hi.
Good.
Glad to be here. Thank you for having me.
Did I get the name right that time?
No, you didn't.
Okay, what is it?
It's, wait, do you want the real way or do you want?
Yeah.
Because there's several ways to say it. So the actual way that my parents say it is wing.
Wing?
Wing.
Ween?
Yeah. But I like to just say Nugent.
Nugent. Oh.
This whole podcast is basically him just sharing toxic stories about himself and generally being either harmful or boring. He clearly doesn't know how to have a healthy, mature relationship or communicate with people, especially other adult women. And even when he's called out for it, he just brags about playing games and messing with people. And it's all so immature, but you know that he's actually doing this to real people, and that's really harmful. Oh, and he brags about straight up lying to women too, so that's messed up as well.
What's the most toxic thing you've ever done?
My whole YouTube channel.
Okay, that's different. That's like, how about toxic thing, like relationship wise?
Ooh, relationship wise. I don't know. That's tough.
What's the most toxic thing that you've ever done to another?
I think I know. So one of my old girlfriends, we weren't officially dating, so to speak.
Okay.
And that's something guys do before they get into a relationship. When they want to vet a girl before they officially make her their girlfriend. Okay. They'll be like seeing each other.
Yeah.
Exclusive, right?
I know how that works out.
Okay. So there was one girl I was seeing, and from the jump, I had a feeling that we would probably get into a relationship, but I didn't want to be with her long term.
Okay.
So to prevent her getting too attached to me for the inevitable day when I did break her heart, I would never hug her or cuddle her. So we would hook up, we would go out, have sex, whatever. But as soon as like it was time for bed or watching a movie, we would sit on other ends of the couch. We would sleep on other ends of the bed. Wow. Because I didn't want her to develop that much attachment for me.
That sounds like premeditated type.
It was very premeditated. When you get into a relationship, you know this.
Yeah, I know how it goes.
You want to maintain the leverage, right? You don't want to be in a position where you want the other person more than you.
Yeah, but that's like games. Why would you want to play games? It's just too much for me. I would just be like, if you don't want to date me, then you don't want to date me. But other than that, that's it.
Yeah, that's fair. Some people think about it that way. But okay, well, I mean, I guess this kind of counts too. So she would ask me why I wouldn't cuddle her. And I told her it was because when I was a kid, nobody touched me. Like nobody hugged me. I wasn't cuddled by my family, nothing. So like I grew up being used to not being touched and cuddled. And she believed me. And
so you used trauma. You faked trauma. You just basically like made up a whole story saying that you were never touched as a kid, so you're not used to affection.
I wouldn't say it was trauma, but, yeah, whatever you want to call that.
So then she pitied you. She's like, oh, okay, that makes sense. Like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, well, it got me out of cuddling. But here's the thing. I did this because I wanted her to not be as heartbroken when we did eventually break up.
Oh my gosh.
And it didn't work. She was devastated.
Wow.
He's not against spreading misinformation too. Like so many idiots in the red pill pickup artist communities, he spouts nonsense about pair bonding. And I said it before, but I'll say it again. None of them understand what pair bonding is. This comes up in the second to last section of this video as well, so bear all this in mind because you'll need to remember it for later.
Interesting you bring that up. That's like one of the things they found from evolutionary psychology about the male and female dating strategy. The term, I believe, is pair bonding.
Yeah.
So it's actually based a lot too on when the man is still inside the woman, obviously.
Pair bonding is very simply a strong emotional connection built on trust and intimacy between two or sometimes more individuals. It's often romantic and sexual, but not always. It occurs in a lot of species of animals, but not all pair bonding is equal or the same. Some species have one monogamous pair bond for life, and if that breaks, they can't form a new one. Some species have sequential monogamous pair bonds where they can form one pair bond, break it, and then form another. Some species have multiple pair bonds at once, which can break and form at any time. We can and have seen all of the above in humans. It varies from individual to individual based on personal biology and socialization. It does not depend on gender, and not every human is the same. Generally, how a person pair bonds is determined by their genetics and physiology, not, as a lot of pickup artists and red pillers say, by how many sexual partners they have. Generally, people are more like, individuals are more likely to either be monogamous or polyamorous, to have one pair bond for life or multiple pair bonds over the course of their life. That's all to do with how we... Actually, you know, I've spoken about this before. Let's cut back to past me giving a way better explanation of this. Also, sorry about my voice in this clip. I had really bad tonsillitis at the time and was just getting over it, so sorry. So pair bonding is something that occurs in a lot of animals who reproduce sexually. Not all animals, but quite a lot of them. It's basically an emotional connection between a mating pair. A little more complicated than that, but that's it in essence. You know, they care for each other, they feel good emotions about each other, they often work together to conceive and sometimes raise a child. What a lot of people don't realise is there isn't just one type of pair bond. There's lots and lots of different types found throughout nature. There's no one right way to pair bond. And for some species, pair bonding isn't a thing at all. It's just not right for them at all. And that's okay too. So some species only pair bond for a really short period of time. Some pair bond in cycles, some pair bond for life, some pair bond for social or hierarchical reasons, not just sexual reasons. Some pair bond with multiple individuals in a short space of time, and some pair bond with one individual but still have sex with a bunch of others. And some species show a whole mix of these behaviours, humans included. Pair bonding is commonly seen amongst birds and fish and mammals, but surprisingly, not all that many primates. Some primates, but not as many as you might think. Pair bonding in humans, for example, is incredibly varied. Pair bonds can be created and prolonged because of neurotransmitters like oxytocin and vasopressin and dopamine, and pair bonds can be broken and new ones formed. We can pair bond for life, or we can pair bond for a shorter period of time. We can pair bond with multiple people, or one person, or none at all. It really depends on the individual. There is so much variation. Going back to animals in general, some pair bond with the same gender, some with different genders. Some form pair bonds with one main partner and still have sex with others to increase chances of reproducing. This is common with white-handed gibbons, zebra finches, eastern bluebirds, all sorts. And both males and females have been shown to have these extra partners. So it's not just only men can have multiple partners and still pair bond, women can't. No. It's seen in both sexes, absolutely. The ability to pair bond is not something that humans lose over time, especially not if they've had multiple partners. That is an absolute unproven myth. In fact, a disproven myth. You see a lot of people like Rouge and the Red Pill Men spread this myth that science shows that multiple sexual partners will lose your ability to pair bond, but only if you're a woman. And it's absolutely untrue. This is simply a narrative that they're spinning in order to control women and their bodies and their sexuality. There is no truth in it. Rouge himself perpetuates this idea too. He says, "When I would bring a new girl to my home from a nightclub, I would wonder why she was so willing to donate her body for far less gain than I was about to receive. The only explanation is that she was trying to relieve her anxiety, boredom, or unhappiness with a burst of sexual validation that faded in a day and left her less capable of bonding with a good man in the future. So a woman has sex with Rouge. Now she can't pair bond with a new man, according to him. A good man. It is absolute rubbish. Now Rouge never gives his own source for this, but in preparation for videos like this, I've read a lot of like red pill books and stuff like that. Alpha male books, all sorts of stuff. And a few of them do give their sources. So I went and read the sources. And then I read the studies that those studies were based on. And I went way, way back to like 50s, 60s, stuff like that. I far too much on this topic. There is one main paper that is the go-to source for apparently why multiple sexual partners cause women to be unable to pair bond. And it's not a study of humans at all. It's a study about prairie voles. These guys. To give you a very, very abridged version of this paper, I think one of the most recent ones was put out in about 2012, and it basically asks, hey, this type of prairie vole is socially monogamous. Let's study their oxytocin levels and ability to pair bond, and decide if that can tell us anything about humans. And then the red pillers saw this and ran with it without really reading or understanding the whole paper. So, to summarise, let me properly read my notes for this so I get this right. So like I say, I read this paper and all the studies it was based off, and to give you a very, very brief summary, this one species of prairie vole is known for being socially monogamous, and they pair bond with one mate, usually for life. So, a bunch of people did a bunch of experiments with these voles and found that oxytocin played a big role in forming pair bonds in the females, and vasopressin played a big role in males, but both influenced both sexes a little. Then they did a bunch of experiments splitting apart pair-bonded couples, and they put the females with new males to see if they'd bond with them, and most of them didn't. And then they'd reintroduce the original male back to the female and found that with the presence of a new male, a lot of those original pair bonds had broken. And then, as a result, the female displayed aggression towards what was basically her ex. Where the human aspect of this comes in is that a couple of these studies then went on to say, when looking at human women, some of the neurotransmitters and receptors that were active in the brain in those pair bonds to the neurotransmitters and receptors active in the brains of female prairie voles. And that's as far as the similarities went. Similar neurotransmitters, similar receptors, or as similar as they can be between human and prairie vole brains, you know? So the red pill men were then using this to say, see, when women spend time around other men, they lose their ability to pair bond. Which is absolute crap. That is not the conclusion from those studies at all. All this study showed was that in one type of prairie vole, pair bonds could be broken. That's it. In other species of vole, pair bonds were not broken. In other species of vole, new pair bonds were formed really, really easily. And various other outcomes depending on the species of vole. And then the studies done in humans found that unlike voles, the number of receptors in our brain and our ability to produce and uptake certain neuroreceptors like oxytocin seem to be more defined by our genetics than our environment. Voles, it was really influenced by environment. Humans, mostly genetics. So this implies that in humans, an individual's ability to be monogamous or polyamorous or pair bond with one person or more people is more likely influenced by our genetics than our environment. Basically, the opposite of what was seen in prairie voles. But then, none of this is really set in stone. It's still all being studied. We don't quite know everything for certain. It's a very, very complex science. But basically, what most studies have found is that there is a huge amount of variation in pair bonding in humans, and all this stuff about multiple sexual partners preventing women from forming pair bonds is absolute unproven nonsense. Disproven nonsense. Just because it happens in one species of prairie vole doesn't mean it happens in humans. That's it. I know it's a short version, but there you go, rant over. So yeah, there are absolutely no scientific studies out there that suggest that the number of previous partners a person has affects their ability to pair bond. If a person is already predisposed to not having sequential pair bonding, then that's likely how they're going to be, you know? If a person is predisposed to that, then it doesn't really matter how many partners they have, they'll still be able to form more. And some people are predisposed to kind of like polyamorous pair bonding, if you will, where they can form multiple pair bonds at the same time. Again, it doesn't matter how many partners you've had, that doesn't affect your ability to pair bond. There is absolutely no evidence of that being the case. In fact, there's evidence to the contrary. All these silly men just get their idea from one now debunked study on one particular species of prairie dog from the 70s. That is it. That's what it's all based on. It's insane. Most of this podcast, though, is very boring, and Jack really shows off how dumb he is in this long-form format. He makes big claims which constantly have to be fact-checked, and he's often proven wrong, like when he says birth control for women went through 20 to 30 years of testing before being approved, when in reality it was closer to 3 years, and most of that was tested on poor women and women of colour to their detriment. I've spoken about this in previous videos before, but in America, for example, a lot of hormonal birth control, like the pill, was tested on poorer women of colour from a lot of... Oh, there's Scooby waking up. From a lot of South American countries. Hi, gorgeous. Hang on. Whereas in the UK, it was tested on poor women in poorer areas of London and big cities like that. So it was a class issue there, a race issue in America. Again, that's something I've spoken about in detail in other videos, so I won't go over it again. Do you want a snack? Oh, actually, it's your tea time. Do you want your tea? Come on, let's go feed you. Careful. Another time he shows his lack of knowledge in any area is when he just doesn't know who Emily Dickinson is, which I find very funny. I just don't think he's very educated in literally any field. And like I say, he can't seem to even pull a sentence together without swearing, which... I'm not against swearing. I'm not really a sweary person myself. But I do think that some people use swearing in a very expressive way, and it can be very emotive. However, I think the way Jack does it, and people like him, where they can't even string a sentence together without swearing so much, does kind of show a lack of intelligence and ability to express yourself clearly. Also, pardon you, Kyra, I'm so sorry she put there. In other podcast episodes, he bragged more about partying with 18-year-olds, again, as a grown man. He acts as though this is normal. It's not. It's creepy as hell. It's the most pathetic thing. Like, I get it. You might want to go back and visit the university you went to once in a while, but if your whole personality is being a 27-plus-year-old man who goes to every university party in the area every year to go and get drunk and exploit a bunch of 18-year-olds... then you're creepy and pathetic. There's no other word for it. In 2022, he started a new channel just called Denmo, saying he wanted to take his content in a new direction, only to upload more of the same nonsense he was uploading before. There was no new direction here.
This is a look at the entrepreneurial life and grind in maintaining a high-level YouTube channel, being a content creator, essentially. It's also just a catch-up video for all of my fans from over the years. So the first half of this video is going to be introducing this new Denmo channel and why I decided to start a new channel. I already had 850,000 subscribers. Why would I start over? Seems kind of crazy, right? And then again, I have started like 7 or 8 different channels. So yes, I am definitely crazy. I needed to take the pressure off of myself. After switching from vlogs to interviews to pickup lines to movies to pranks to TV series, to interviews, back to pranks, etc., basically led to super high expectations from everybody. When I dropped a prank, everybody wanted the drunk interviews. When I dropped a pickup line, everybody wanted Virgin Squad. Basically, I had 4 to 5 different fan bases, all selectively choosing which videos to watch, which not only hurt my views because people would only tune in for like one type of video, but it also put a tremendous amount of pressure on me to please everybody.
You know, I'd actually have a lot of sympathy for this if it was literally anyone else saying it. It's also really quite funny that he complained about making too many different types of content on his first channel, so the algorithm didn't know who to show his content to, and then he just went and did exactly the same thing with this new channel too. He's really dumb. He then goes on to try and get pity for getting into trouble for bothering teenagers. He really cannot deal with taking responsibility for or accountability for his own actions.
Ontario is pretty much done for content. When I film street parties, police literally follow me and my crew around, waiting for somebody to have an open beer on a sidewalk or, God forbid, cross the street without using the crosswalk. and then they will fine us $2,000. Bylaw tickets. It's actually nuts, guys. Number 2, I'm banned from everywhere. I got banned from Western for dressing up like Batman. I got banned from Guelph because some girl complained about a TikTok. I got banned from McMaster because of Hoko. I got banned from Queens for getting a virgin a haircut. I got banned for Brock from, I don't even know. I can't even remember. It was so long ago. But to be honest, like, all these bans are ridiculous. I understand the Batman one, I guess, but realistically, all I'm doing is filming funny stuff and visiting campuses.
And disturbing young students who are just trying to learn, bothering young women a decade younger than you and making them feel unsafe, filming drunk people without their consent, exploiting them to make money. That's all you were doing.
They've banned me, they've sent police to my house to intimidate me, and they've made up reasons to fine me thousands of dollars for things like trespassing or walking on a closed highway. Apparently, it's illegal to have a beer on your own front lawn nowadays, guys. I mean, come on. This leads me to my next point, legal stuff. So, number 3, I've had loads of stress, both mentally and financially, from the government finding creative ways to put pressure on me. Now, there's some legal stuff I can't tell you about right now. Every case is different, but the point I'm making is they really wear on your mental health.
The irony of this man, who is one of the people who is quickest to say women can't take accountability, literally complaining because he doesn't want to be held accountable for his own creepy actions. Like, you can't make this stuff up, can you? Oh, and that legal stuff he couldn't talk about? The rape case he's now been convicted of. I'm not going to feel sorry for a rapist's mental health because he feels bad he's being punished for being a rapist. I feel for his survivor's mental health and the damage he did to her. That's what I care about. That's who I care about, not him.
Okay, you gotta attend court, hire lawyers, pay fines, and get harassed by police at customs every time I try to leave the country. Court appearances, just to book future court appearances. And it takes months. Like, you can't just get it done in a week. It takes months to get everything organized and follow through. It just gives you a lot of anxiety when you can't trust your own government and you're terrified of a legal system that is supposed to protect you. Your government is supposed to work for you, not the other way around.
The convicted rapist is really making himself out to be the victim, and it's enraging. Absolutely enraging.
And for whatever reason, the government doesn't like me, the school boards don't like me, the cities don't like me, which I get, but that's what happens when you try to make a change in the world and do it in a polarizing way with videos, that they try to come after you.
No, that's just what happens when you repeatedly rape women. You face legal consequences, or at least in a just world you should. It actually restores my faith in humanity a bit to see him face real consequences. It gives me hope, because we sadly don't see it very often. Anyway, he started posting content again and had the exact same strategy as before, just post a whole load of nonsense. Of course, he started with stupid prank videos, some of them even having the exact same titles as some of his older videos. There were some new ones. Some of the videos on this channel were literally just re-uploads of his older videos, but with less editing. I know. A lot of these videos just demonstrated, again, that he has a lack of boundaries and respect for people's personal space.
We probably have a lot in common, though.
No.
I mean, all you need to do is look at this woman's face. She's uncomfortable, she's scared, and this guy just thinks that's funny. It's funny and humorous, apparently, to make women feel scared. It's horrible. I think this tells you everything you need to know about him. And it's not just women he likes to make uncomfortable and invade their personal space and touch them without permission, it's men too. This little goblin has no boundaries. No does not mean no to him because he doesn't care about other people's consent or boundaries if he thinks he can get something from them.
It's nice, eh? Hmm? Oh, I'm sorry.
আমার হচ্ছে ওনার হচ্ছে মোটামুটি 1.5 বছর হলো উনি এখনো এই
Hey, what's going on?
Do you mind? I'm actually having a private conversation.
Oh yeah, no, I'm just chilling. I'm not listening. I'm cool. I'm just looking over there. I'm good.
Can I just have like this space to myself, I guess?
Oh, like you want some space?
Like
There you go.
the whole thing. Yeah.
Is this good? Here. I'll just. Oh, no. Look, see? I'm right here.
Like I say, you also start to show at this point more of the behind the scenes of him telling people about his pranks, and I just can't deal with this level of cringe. It's way too much. It's dull, it's awkward, this man has no charisma, nothing interesting to say or do, and it's awkward, but like, not in an entertaining, like, you know Nathan Fielder? The guy who did Nathan For You and The Rehearsal and oh god, what was the one he did with Emma Stone? The drama he did with her. It was really good. It'll come to me. Nathan knows how to do cringe comedy and make it work. He's so damn funny. I love his stuff. Nathan For You is one of the series that I go back and rewatch again and again and again. It's amazing. Jack can't do that. This isn't cringe comedy. This is just him being really cringy and not realizing how cringy he is. I just can't believe someone would have so little self-awareness, but he does. Please watch this whole unedited clip and just wonder why the hell is this 28 or 29-year-old man, why does he not have anything better to do with his life than this?
Hey you, I'm just doing a funny video for YouTube.
I was wondering.
I'm so sorry. It's my friend's filming right there.
I was like, oh, Jesus.
Yeah, the video is called Sitting Too Close to People. So I was... Did you like look down and...
Yeah, I did, and I was...
That's good. That's what we needed for the video. Just like crazy...
Sorry.
Facial expression. No, you're good. You're fine. I'm sorry for, you know.
I was wondering. I was like,
No, that was funny. You're cool. I'm Jack.
Stella.
Stella. Ooh, like the Artois. You know, like the... I love your, that denim jacket you got there. It's actually nasty. Oh, well, she knows what's up. She made you. We're actually rocking the exact same fit. We got the white shoes. My jeans are ripped. I got the white tee as well. Actually, this guy too. Dude, we're all twinning.
Yeah, we're looking good.
We are looking fire, my guy. You want to be friends?
Sure.
Let me sauce you my number right now.
What's your channel called?
It's called Diarrhea Dickweed.
Is it really?
No. Yeah. Jack. Denmo. Denmo Jack. Yeah. Artois. Stella. Okay. Well, do you ever,
Play laser tag? Yeah.
I've never. Is it fun?
Super fun. Glow in the dark.
Ah, okay.
You want to play laser tag sometime? Sure. Bet. All right, I just texted you laser tag.
Perfect.
Okay. Well, I'm going to go lay down next to people.
You have fun doing that.
Yeah, you're super cool, Stella.
Thank you.
Oh, blue shirt. We'd be cotton candy. Yeah. Yeah, that was a big fail, but keep coming.
He just lacks any awareness of other people and their feelings. And I say this as an autistic woman who often has a hard time reading facial expressions and reading other people's intentions sometimes. But even I can see in these women, like, they're smiling because women are always taught to appease men who make them feel uncomfortable or unsafe. Like, I think that's why she's smiling, because the minute he turns his back, her real facial expression shows, and she's uncomfortable. She's not happy. She's a little scared or annoyed or both. He seems to think this is something to brag about because, hey, look, they gave me their number, when, let's be real, chances are that's either not a real phone number or they were just doing it to appease him because they didn't know how to say no or because they felt scared of him. Their faces after the interactions with him are what tell the real story of how they feel towards him, yet he's reviewed this footage, edited this footage, put it out online, and he can't read their facial expressions. Either he's oblivious or he just doesn't give a damn about women's feelings. Probably both. When he wasn't doing prank or pickup videos though, he was making more boring vlogs. These got a little bit better in terms of quality of how they were made, because at least he knew how to do colour corrections now. However, his life is still dull as hell, he is still dull as hell, these videos are boring as hell. However, the reason I'm showing you all this is because is anyone else bothered by just how casually he degrades women and is just so openly misogynistic in his day-to-day life?
Me? Try and do it high, because you're small.
This is a little tricky.
Okay, guys, so I just woke up. It's about 6:30. I'm gonna make the bed now. Usually I make my girlfriend do it, but she's holding the camera. So, because I realized that when you shower, eat breakfast, put your clothes on, all that bullshit, you have a lot of pressure on yourself. I just go right into the work, but I do make a tea at first.
And he gets his girlfriend to make all his food.
Yeah, as she should. What are you doing?
Washing dishes.
Then what are you gonna do?
I'm gonna cook us breakfast.
Yeah, that's right. What's up? Is it gonna be healthy? So as everybody knows, women are supposed to do all the housework, cooking, cleaning. Whoever doesn't enjoy cooking and cleaning, I feel bad for you. It's actually pretty fun. We're gonna have a nice big power breakfast.
Yeah, why don't you do that for fun?
Well, you're better at it.
Oh, nice one.
Yeah, you know, genetically.
I once left Jack in the kitchen for about 2 minutes while I went pee. I come back, bacon's burnt. This tool is melted.
Tool?
Literally.
Tool?
Spatula.
It's called a spatula. It's not a tool. You're a tool. Stir those eggs.
And since then, he's never allowed in the kitchen ever again.
Yeah, all right. Well, that looks pretty good. We throw cheese in our omelets.
Oh, not yet, not yet. This is why you're not allowed in the kitchen. It's not yet.
Sorry I was born with a penis. Jeez. Here's the bedroom. This is where I clap cheeks. One of my goals one day, when I have my ranch, I'm gonna have a bunch of chickens in my chicken coop. And make my kids take care of them.
My idea.
How the hell did the stinky, unwashed goblin get a girlfriend? I do not get it. Like, ladies, if you're watching this and you are attracted to men like this, I beg you to please raise your standards because you deserve so much better. At this point in researching and making this video and writing my script, I was actually starting to really struggle, if I'm being honest, because I've made these big deep dive videos before, right? Most recently the Paul and Morgan one, which was that was a marathon. I've done the Bethany Beal one, the Carissa Collins one, and so on. And after a while of consuming so much of a person or people's content, even when you don't like them, you do start to feel a bit of empathy towards them, right? You start to be like, oh, well, you know, I don't like them and they've done this horrible stuff. However, I can see them hurting here and I feel for them. Or I can see they maybe meant well here and it didn't work out. Or, you know, I don't agree with what they're saying, but I understand why they're saying it. Maybe they're a product of their upbringing or something like that. And you see them as human, you get a fuller picture of who they are, and you feel empathy, you have some compassion for them. You see a complex human with many facets. It's not just, they're not bad people all the time. I didn't get that with Jack Densmore. Not even a little bit. I watched hundreds of hours of his content across 7 different YouTube channels, and not once did I find myself entertained by him, liking him, smiling along with something he said, feeling any kind of compassion or empathy for him, understanding where these harmful views came from. Nothing. Not even once. And that was really shocking for me. I saw absolutely nothing which explained Jack's misogynistic behaviour. I saw absolutely no evidence of him being in any way a victim. I only ever saw evidence of him being an unlikable, misogynistic oppressor. There was nothing entertaining about him, no redeeming or positive qualities. There was nothing even remotely enjoyable about his content. And the more I watched, the less I liked him. And the more I felt he was really nothing more than a shallow misogynist with nothing else under the surface. And there's something quite scary about that. The more I watched him, the less safe I felt. He's not someone I would either be comfortable being near or having a conversation with. And he's definitely not someone I would leave another woman alone in a room with. I wouldn't leave myself alone in a room with him either, but you know what I mean. Struggling. Sorry. I'm still dealing with the constant pain, so tripping over my words a bit now. Sorry. You'll have to excuse me. Hey, in positive news, if anyone wants a little health update from me, I've had my ultrasound scans and stuff, and there's nothing obviously physical going on with me. There's no fibroids or cysts or scarring in my uterus that's causing me pain, but they do think now it's very likely to be endometriosis, which is causing all the pain. So they're referring me to a gynecologist who specialises, but who knows when I'm going to get to see them. Until then, I'm just in pain constantly. So that's fun. But yeah, sorry, that's why I'm a little bit out of it today and tripping up my words, and I'm sorry, I can only apologise. Right. It was also at this point that I found out he had way more YouTube channels than I'd realised, and this is what I spoke about in the beginning. Every time I thought I was done with his content, I found more and more that he'd posted online. So at this point, I found his channel called Fork, which was primarily him trolling online classes, that is, interrupting people's education that they paid tens of thousands of pounds for during a global pandemic. I also found he had a couple of channels called Denmo Social and the Friend Club podcast, but these have been removed from YouTube as far as I could tell, and I couldn't find them anymore. I couldn't find any of the content from them, so I can't talk about it. He also started at this point on the Denmo channel making advice videos, which were a mix of dating and pickup advice, how to be an entrepreneur and make all the money like Jack does, advice on how to be a big, strong, masculine man, and all of that nonsense. There was very little substance in it, to be honest, but let's take a look at a few videos at least. So I've tried to split these videos up that we're going to look at into basic categories, but there's a fair bit of overlap and repetition between the videos. So let's start with the one where he brags about money with titles like, "This is fun and makes me $3,749 per hour." Doubt. "I haven't had fun in years." Actually, I believe that one. "How the top 1% are making money in 2023. If his answer to that isn't exploiting the poor, then he's wrong. And "having fun is a luxury you can't afford," and so on. The advice about how to make money videos always make me laugh a bit, because they always start with him bragging about how much money he makes, which is quite funny because he's spent hours in other videos complaining that YouTube hate him and don't pay him fairly, and how on his 800,000 subscriber channel he was barely making $450 a month, and he literally showed screenshots of that. So like, what is it, mate? When you want to be a victim, you're like, "Oh, they don't pay me fairly," and then when you want to try and sell people something, you're like, "Oh my god, I'm making hundreds of thousands of dollars." I don't believe it. I just absolutely do not believe it. Honestly, if a person brags about how much money they're making, I always doubt it. You know, Bethany Beal has done the same with her, this makes me 6 figures a year. No, I completely doubt it. I reckon what's happened is they've likely had 1 or 2 good months, but it's not a regular thing. But they're like, oh my God, let me try and make more money by bragging about this one time I made this much money and pretending it's happening all the time, and then selling to people my ideas so they think they can do it too, even though I'm not really doing it either. It's just a bunch of nonsense. It's all lies. It's scammy as hell. So let's take a look at some clips, but be warned, he is really smug. He's just trying to get people angry, and he's not really saying anything of any substance. So while I was writing my script, this is quite funny, I wrote out like a generic speech of like, this is what these men always sound like, blah blah blah, and I like wrote the whole thing out. And then I watched Jack's videos. I was like, oh my God, he's literally just saying what I did to mock him. Like, oh, so accurate. But these inspirational talks from men, they're always like, are you miserable, bro? I bet you're miserable, bro. You know why? You're weak, bro. And social media, bro. I get it, bro. Stop wasting your time, bro. You just gotta grind, get money, get hoes, bro. Then you won't be depressed anymore. And the thing is, depression, it's not real. It's all in your head, bro. All in your head. It's not a health problem you need to take seriously, bro. You just need to work more to distract yourself so you don't have to think about your depression, bro. Be more like me, bro. I'll admit I'm miserable, but I'm telling you to be like me because it earns me money. And isn't that what we all want, bro? For me to be rich? Yeah, hand over your money, bro. And I'll brag some more. That's what they all sound like. That's what I wrote to mock people like Jack. And then that's exactly what Jack just goes ahead and says.
Did you really work a job you hate 50 hours this week so you could go on Instagram? Really? Is that really why you worked all week? Oh yeah, this video is definitely gonna trigger you, bro. You're gonna get mad. You're gonna go to the comments section and you're gonna be like, you're wrong. But I'm not wrong. And here's why. It's because you're weak. You've been weak. And you're gonna continue being weak. Because that's a luxury that you have and you don't even realize it. Free time is a luxury. It's when you don't have to go to work. It's when you don't have any responsibilities. It's when you can just do whatever you please. And the thing that you probably please or would want to do is wasting time doing something that you enjoy. And is there anything wrong with that? Well, no, I suppose there isn't. But what if your life was set up so that you could earn that time to yourself as opposed to just being gifted it?
Jack Densmore has never had an original thought in his life. There's also this ironic statement that comes out of nowhere, considering that this man lived with his parents for years while creeping around college campuses and hitting on teenagers.
If you're above the age of 18 and you're a man, and you're living in your parents' house while they are still working, and you're playing video games, then you're a f***ing idiot, bro. You're a idiot. It's not free time. They're working to pay the mortgage so that you can sit in your room and watch YouTube videos. That's not free time. Okay?
Yeah, Jack, your parents were out there working to pay the mortgage so you could creep on teenagers. That's not free time, bro. That's you using more people so you can continue being creepy. He then decides to just completely disregard people with mental health problems or neurodivergent people because at least they're not working in mines in Africa or in the jungle. I'm not even joking, this is what he says. It's just a complete misunderstanding of how human brains work. The average neurodivergent person isn't using their neurodivergence as an excuse to be lazy. That's just not happening. I'm autistic. I'm not lazy. I don't think anyone could ever accuse me of being lazy. I work far too much. It's a fault I have, I admit that. And every other autistic person I know is also not lazy at all. I have plenty of friends with ADHD. Not lazy. Not even close. But you also just can't expect a neurodivergent person to flourish in an environment made for neurotypical people. That's not them making excuses. That's not them being lazy. That's just a fact. Jack tells people to just think their way out of physical issues, because that's what these are. Neurodivergent brains literally work in a different way. When people have mental health problems, whether that's depression, anxiety, or a personality disorder, or anything else, that is literally someone's brain physically working in a different way. Telling someone with a different brain to just think their way out of difficulty because other people have it worse is like throwing someone with 4 broken limbs into water and telling them, just swim, bro, because that able-bodied person over there is able to do it, so why aren't you? That's not how it works. The way to get neurodivergent people or people with mental health conditions to be productive and successful, if they want to be, is to make sure they have access to medication, healthcare, therapy, support systems, healthy environments that are suited to neurodivergent people and people with these mental health conditions so that they can be productive in them. Whatever they need, that's how you do it. You don't just shame them for being physically different. That doesn't help anyone. A person with depression, for example, recognizing that they're depressed, potentially taking medication and or going to therapy, will allow them to be healthier, happier, and more productive than a person with depression just being told to suppress their feelings and pretend their health condition doesn't exist because, hey, people once worked in a mine, so why are you depressed? Jack's advice is not only stupid, but dangerous. It will harm people.
You go, I don't know what to do. I just can't stay focused. You know what you need? You need to be thrown in the middle of the f***ing jungle. That would really help you, bro. Imagine if you didn't have a choice, but you still feel sorry for yourself. Oh, well, I got ADHD or the chemicals in my head. Yeah, really, bro? Those chemicals? Your entire genetic lineage of ancestors managed to deal with those chemical problems in your head so that you could be here right now.
This is just such a damn stupid way of thinking. Like, sure, my ancestors scraped by with similar issues to me, but they absolutely did not thrive. I'll keep saying it, I'm an autistic woman, right? And honestly, I felt like I was drowning before I got my diagnosis at like, what? I don't even know how old I was now, 27, 28, something like that. Before then, I didn't understand what was wrong with me or why I didn't fit in anywhere or why I struggled with so many things that other people just managed easily. Getting a diagnosis allowed me to understand myself, make accommodations for myself, get support, and find easier ways of doing things that made me a happier, healthier, and more productive person. Looking back now, it's pretty likely that there are a lot more autistic people in my family, but I'm the only one who's diagnosed. And my family has always struggled with just scraping by in terms of money and jobs and that sort of thing. And I do wonder how many of them would have been better off if maybe they'd been diagnosed and they'd got help and they'd had support and they'd understood themselves in the way that I do, you know? And the argument that like, well, your ancestors struggled with X, Y, and Z, so you should too, is just such a stupid and ignorant way of thinking. Yes, they struggled, and do you know what happened? They often died. We have the opportunity now to stop people dying or struggling or hurting. Why wouldn't we want to do that? Why would we want to tell people they need to maintain the struggle? They need to keep struggling. They need to keep hurting. Why would you tell anyone that? People in the past didn't just suck it up and were successful anyway, like Jack thinks they did. They suffered. They struggled. They were hurting. They died. We need to stop romanticizing the past and be real about it.
The idea of fun is a new concept. It didn't exist until maybe 100 years ago.
This is just stupid and completely wrong in every single way. Humans and animals have always had fun and time to relax and rest. Fun and play and being creative and having time to relax is a really important part of human development. Without time to rest, we get burnt out and we don't learn as quickly, we don't progress as quickly, we are not as productive. We know fun has always been a thing in humans and other animals. We have plays dating back over 2,000 years. People went to go watch them for fun. Sometimes people would perform in them for fun. We have stories and myths that are even older than that. People used to share stories and poems for fun. We have ancient toys, which may be as old as 4,000 years old, which, sure, some are for children, but not all. They are used for fun. There's archaeological evidence of games like Mancala being played as long ago as 6,000 BC. And guess what? People played it for fun. And don't forget sport, right? We have cave paintings that suggest people were wrestling for sport, for fun, as far back as 15,000 years ago, maybe even longer. Ball games date back to at least ancient Egypt, if not further back. Fun is also normal among so many animals. We see animals playing games with each other, relaxing, having fun, playing with toys, creating toys. It's a natural part of being an animal. Fun is part of being alive. This man saying that fun has only existed for like 100 years. I mean, it sounds laughable even when you say it, doesn't it? He's just talking out of his bum hole. I cannot believe people would listen to this nonsense and even consider taking him seriously. It's so laughably dumb. Can you believe he made a 35-minute long video about this rubbish? I can't. I absolutely can't. So the takeaway from his video is focus on work, 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 and don't waste your life having fun because that's not productive. Except it is. It is productive. Fun is a part of who we are and allows us to be more productive. God's sake. He later released another video about the lack of fun in his life, and he's like, whoa, I spent so long working, I just never appreciate the moment and have fun. How sad. But I pity those men who say you shouldn't have fun because hedonistic pleasure is so good, or something, I don't know. He goes on these incoherent, inconsistent rants without any real substance.
The truth is, when you're in monk mode, you're a hermit, and you're just staring at a computer all day. And that's very tough. And until you kind of snap out of the moment, you go, whoa, holy shit. And that's a feeling that I had just a couple minutes ago. I'm like, man, I gotta go turn the camera on and just record this hot take. I haven't had fun in months. There's a couple reasons why, obviously, but I want you to think right now, when's the last time you were present in the moment? Because I truly believe that in the self-improvement space, it's frowned upon to just have fun. And you have all these guys telling you, oh, you gotta do this, gotta do that. Guys that are virgins, guys that have never banged a bunch of chicks, gone on these crazy party escapades, guys that guarantee there's no video of them crowd surfing. I'm not saying this to be an asshole. I'm just saying, like, you don't know what it's like to be at the top level of hedonistic pleasure in life, bro. Sexually, status-wise, the way people worship you and treat you amazing. You get to go everywhere. You're making money, you're getting views. All the people that you over in the past, you can just be like, you know? You know what I mean? Like those ex-girlfriends that are just toxic, or people that were mean to you in middle school, you can just be like, yeah, well, look at you now. You're not doing anything. Look at me, I'm the shit.
But really, make up your mind, mate. He really does seem so miserable in his life. I don't believe he has any fun, really, and it's what he deserves. But it really doesn't make him qualified to be trying to give life advice to others. But he needs to make up his mind, you know. 1 minute is like, we don't have fun isn't real, stop having fun. And then the next he's like, oh, pity me, I never get to have any fun, and hedonistic pleasure's so great. And you're just like, shut up and make up your mind. Then in another video, he changes his stance again and goes back to, don't do anything for fun, it must have a return on investment. There's no consistency. Absolutely no consistency.
Successful people do not do things unless they have an ROI. There is no ROI to video games, scrolling on social media, getting stressed out about the news, reading about the war, or even watching most YouTube videos. And even if you do think there is an ROI, it is a smaller ROI than you would get by actually doing the work, working towards that thing you actually want to do.
He just says whatever crap he thinks will make him money in the moment, even if it goes against what he's said before. And listen to these clips, right? For someone who has so little to say, and what he does say is dangerous and or stupid, he really does think so much for himself. I've never seen a man with, well, I have seen a man with a bigger ego, sadly, but he's up there. He's a top 10 for a big ego that he does not deserve.
That's why I make YouTube videos, but these ones in particular, they're so intense for me because there's such a sense of urgency. It's different than just making you laugh, right? Sure, you laugh and then you go back to your miserable life. What good does that do? But these videos, they're meant to do so much more than that. They're meant to inspire you, educate you, entertain you. And that's something else I'm going to start doing. I'm going to start making these videos funny because everybody in self-improvement is so f***ing serious.
Now look, I know you guys always come to this channel because I'm handsome and I have a deep voice and a big pee-pee, but I'm actually more than that. I also have big brains. And today I'm going to share just a little bit of my big brain with you. I'm going to explain how I make a stupid amount of money each month by using leverage. And I use this money that I do make selfishly so that I can work as little as possible so that I have more time to do what I love, which is reading books, spending time with friends, traveling and writing videos just like this.
Most of his actual advice to make money, if you can even call it advice, is just so damn generic. And they're basic life skills that every adult human who is able should have anyway, you know? Be self-motivated, manage your time, work hard. It's like the most basic things. And then every so often, he lets some of his misogyny and content for women slip out. Like here, where he tells people to stop hanging out with friends or dates.
If you have a girlfriend and you guys hang out 3 days a week, be like, listen, babe, I know that you like to spend time with me 3 days a week, but I need to get this done, this XYZ done, so we can only hang out 1 or 2 days per week. And I wouldn't say bring it up over text to a girl because girls take everything personally and it'll turn into an argument, but just let your actions speak louder than words. Just progressively be more busy and be hanging out with stuff. Still see them as much as necessary, but let them know that it's because you're trying to accomplish something big that takes more time and attention from you, and they will actually support you. And if they don't support you, and if they say that you're not spending enough time with them, to the road, bitch. Get out of here. Don't actually hit her, but you know what I mean? Get out of the house for 8 to 10 hours a day. This is especially for you guys that don't have a job and you're trying to start a business. When you're at your house, it's easy to do anything. You guys ever randomly on the internet and then you see a picture of a hot chick and then you're just like, oh man, I gotta fucking jerk off right now. That chick's so hot. Oh, you could do that at your house, but you can't do it at a library or in public. Well, you shouldn't anyways. But these things that you do by yourself, like decide to have a random nap, lay on the floor, scroll on your phone, jerk off or whatever, you can't do that in public because people are around and it forces you to have impulse control.
Sorry, but if you need to be in public to make sure you don't just spontaneously and uncontrollably masturbate, then maybe you have a problem. Some of the things he says aren't offensive or anything, they just make me laugh because they're so dumb.
Number 4, optimize the desk setup. Guys, I have a sick desk setup.
He's bragging about like not even a mediocre computer setup. I'm so sorry, it's just very funny. Again, I wouldn't normally mock a person for this, but he's just so unlikable and awful. It's hilarious. And yet he thinks so much for himself and like none of it's like I actually used to have 2 of the same monitor that he's got here, and I got them secondhand for about a tenner. And he's just here propping it up on a couple of books. This isn't a sick desk setup to brag about. It's just looks like any other cobbled together student desk. Like it's not bad. I mean, yeah, be appreciative of the fact that you have access to technology. This is great, but it's just nothing to brag about. You know, I just feel like his self-image is so out of touch with reality. It confuses me. It's a bit funny. It's also very sad. Anyway, this is a bit boring. Let's move on to his advice content about how to be a big, strong alpha male like him, which is also hilarious. Here's some clips from a video called "You Must Learn to Enjoy Being the Man." And apparently being the man means being selfish and only helping other people because you want something in return. Can't relate, mate. Nah.
Because deep down, the reason that we do things for others is because we want something in return. And that's just a part of human nature. And that's okay. And I can admit that, right? I think we all have an ego in that way. The reason taking care of other people feels good is because it makes us validated. The fact that somebody else would like let me help them and then be like, hey man, thank you so much. You helped me so much. That's like the best compliment you can get as a human, right?
No, I think one of the scariest things about Jack is that he thinks this level of selfishness is normal and that everyone else feels the same way as him. He thinks that this is the way the average person thinks and feels, and it's like, no, we really don't. This isn't how the average person is. Not everyone is this selfish. And also, I feel like I'm saying this in every single video at the minute, but can people please stop vlogging and driving? Distracted driving is so damn dangerous, and you're gonna kill someone if you're not careful. Please stop it.
Being the f***ing man. You've probably heard that term before. Oh, he's the man. That guy's the man. Oh, look, the man is here. We all have those beauty friends that are good at like hyping you up. You know, when you get to a party, you arrive and everyone's like, oh, there he is, right? That energy is something that may as well be a drug itself. You know, when people respect you and treat you good and they hype you up, it feels really good, right? But guess what? There's going to be days, maybe weeks or months where you go without getting that love from anybody. You haven't felt like the man in a while because Nobody's complimented you. Nobody's hyped you up. Nobody's said thank you, man. But that's what being the man is. You got to do that anyway.
There's also an interesting video from him titled "The Internet is Turning Men into Incels," and it's interesting because Jack sees incels as a bad thing, when in reality, as we spoke about earlier, incels and pickup artists are just two sides of the same coin. Remember what Laura Bates said. And she's not the only one who sees this similarity either in how the groups have the same underlying misogyny. So in Gail Yocox's book, Misogyny, the New Activism, she writes that, and I'm quoting her here, "One striking aspect of the manosphere, for example men's rights activists, pickup artists, and men going their own way, MGTOW, is how these men consider women as commodities instead of persons. Also, the men consider themselves to be commodities or buyers themselves. One compelling aspect of their argument is that both sexes have sexual market value. A woman's value significantly depends on her fertility and beauty. A man's significantly depends on his resources, intellect, and character. In the world of the pickup artist, men can overcome their beta status, i.e. a chump who is taken advantage of, to emerge as alpha males by using game to get hot babes. These tricks to get women into bed include negging, negative comments to throw off a woman's self-confidence. Besides negging, kino, or kinesthetics, is a tactic of light touching. These men are certainly not respecting the women's physical boundaries." And this is what we see from Jack. So let's take a look at this video, and it starts with a nice little clip of him misunderstanding people and shaming autistic people, which is something he does throughout all his content, and it really did bother me.
Nobody ever goes on the internet because they're happy. Nobody ever goes on the internet because they have a lot of friends and they get invited to places. People go on the internet because they're lonely, and the reason people are lonely is because they don't get along with other people, or they're self-conscious. And why would people not get along with others? Why would people not be invited out to hang out with others? Why would people feel different? Maybe it's because they're a little bit dumb or a little bit autistic.
So, wow, okay. Also, sorry, I guess, for going on the internet to learn stuff, to relax, to be entertained, to restore my energy after socializing, to keep in touch with friends who live far away, to share my own art and photos and videos. This man is just ridiculously out of touch.
I believe that the internet is a haven for autistic people. I believe that most of the people that consume content on social media and YouTube are, in fact, a little bit retarded. I don't mean that in a bad way, because I believe that there's a huge lack of social skills in men. They're a little bit dumb or a little bit autistic. And that doesn't mean you're dumb, right? Like, you could have an IQ of 160, but be socially, you barely know how to talk to people. And there's a lot of famous examples of this. If you listen to like these really high-level chess players or mathematicians, they can barely get through a sentence without stuttering or saying something. Their body language is all... If you look at places like Google or Facebook or all these startups, look at the employees. You know, there's no giga chads running around being super vocally confident and charismatic. It's all these guys that sit in front of a computer all day, but they're really good at like these repetitive tasks.
And oh my god, there is so much to unpack here. So number one, let's not equate being autistic with being stupid or dumb or lacking in any way. Let's not use the R slur. There is absolutely nothing wrong with being autistic. It's just a different way that the brain functions, right? Two, depending on stats and rates of diagnosis, around 1 to 4% of people are autistic. More than 4% of people use the internet. Therefore, the majority of internet users are not autistic, and to claim they are is stupid as hell. 3, let's say there are certain communities online where most of the people involved in them are autistic. Perhaps, for example, because we're looking for a safe place, a sense of community, to find like-minded people, and so on. So what? How is that not a good thing? 4, he seems to forget that women can be autistic too. Isn't surprising, really. I think he seems to forget that women are people half the time, so there you go. 5, being autistic is much more than just lacking social skills. It's not something you can just get over by learning to be a bit more social. There's a hell of a lot more to it than that, but I won't get into that right now. And 6, I'm very confused by how this relates to the title of the video because there is no link between autism and incels. Being autistic does not immediately make someone a misogynistic danger to women. Anyway, then he goes on this rant.
Nowadays, when you do go on the internet, it's totally separate from the people in real life. It's almost like a totally different world. Because, for example, if you go online and you look up Jordan Peterson on Reddit or even on YouTube, you have literally hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people bashing this man, calling him racist, xenophobic, transphobic, all the phobics, right? Awful, disgusting. They hate him. And there's even threads online like, hey, like, my boyfriend watches Jordan Peterson, and all the comments are like, oh, you should break up with him. Oh, he's a misogynist, blah, blah, blah. And I'm just like, this is bizarre because Jordan Peterson's such a good man. He's such an accomplished man. The point I'm making is, in real life, Peterson himself has said that he's only ever had 1 or 2 bad interactions where somebody actually came up to him and harassed him in real life. Besides that, it's overwhelmingly positive. And it's been very similar for me. I'm obviously not Jordan Peterson, but I've had so many people come up to me and have amazing interactions with me in real life. But again, you go on the internet comment section, there's all these little fucking cockroaches and haters, and they're just so mean and so specific, and they have such poison and hatred flowing through their body. But it doesn't actually reflect real life.
And of course he's a Jordan Peterson fan, of course he is. Also, does he realise, oh well no, clearly he doesn't, but does he not realise that people call him that stuff because it's true? Like, and the thing is, yeah, sure, he probably has been fine in real life, because generally, in real life, face to face, people tend to avoid people they find scary or dangerous or mean or unlikable or boring, right? And Jack is all of the above. He's built his career off disrespecting certain types of people, so why would any of those people go out of their way to be around him? For example, and I've only got a few examples of it in this video, but I actually saw quite a lot. He consistently in his videos is transphobic and disrespectful to trans people. So for example, why would a trans person go out of their way to be around him? They wouldn't. Just because he goes out of his way to be disrespectful to certain groups of people online, that doesn't mean that the people he's hurt are going to do the same thing to him in person. Yes, we need to consider how our interactions online and in person differ, and I do think often people need to remember that the people they talk about online or talk to online are real humans with feelings too. But this is just such a bad and poorly explained example. I don't think he even really knows what he's trying to say.
And a clear thing I gotta say here too, what people think about you on the internet means nothing. And I know that it's the common thing to say like, oh, I don't read the comments, I don't care what people think. Obviously everybody does, but they care until they don't. You read the comments and you do get hurt by them until you don't, because you get so worn down by them that you eventually learn not to care about the comments. Because
okay, so I guess he won't be bothered by the fact I'm making this video or anything I'm saying in it, right? But here's the thing I think he's forgetting. Online actions do affect the real world. For example, the reason I'm making this video and calling out so much of his online content is because, one, all the misogynistic things he says online are going to teach other men that they should be thinking in this way and behaving in this way, and that will negatively impact how those men treat women in the real world. His online content is creating dangerous men, which will affect women in the real world and online. And two, secondly, his online behavior is an indicator of his real life behavior. We see all of his content for women online. We see his misogyny. We see his lack of boundaries and respect for women. So it's no surprise that in the real world, he constantly shows all those things to women as well, and is, unsurprisingly, a convicted rapist. We can't separate his online and real life worlds because the behaviors do influence each other. Lisa Segura talks about this in her book, The Incel Rebellion, The Rise of the Manosphere and the Virtual War Against Women, and references feminist blogger Emma Pittman when she writes, and this is a little bit long, but bear with me, it's important, and I have points to talk about it. So Lisa writes, The human pyramid of misogyny suggests viewing misogyny as a spectrum is problematic due to it not being a sliding scale of harm, with jokes situated at the low end and rape at the other. The notion of a pyramid, instead, where minor acts support the major, creating at best a foundation of blithe indifference, and at worst a culture of amusement at women being belittled, provides another avenue for thinking about why it is that even seemingly small acts of sexism, violation and harm must be seen as inherently connected with sexual assault and rape. Misogyny endures because it is collaborative, and it is preserved via embodied structures of societal support that individuals actively uphold, especially those with political, legal, or cultural capital to effect change, but choose not to. Pittman describes the way that rapists and sexual harassers are able to stand on the shoulders of others, and she means mostly, though not exclusively, the shoulders of men. So this is the bit that's quite long, but please bear with me. She writes, "On the bottom of the pyramid are the silent bystanders who observe sexism, harassment, and even abuse, yet do nothing. Their silence might be down to pure ignorance or indifference, or affected by external factors such as intimidation. However, the impact does not differ. Silence equates complicity, creating a foundation for other men to evade retribution. Above them are the men who laugh along and find amusing the sexist 'women belong in the kitchen' or 'make me a sandwich' comments, along with rape jokes, because they're abstract, dark, and edgy humour. They dismiss the lived experiences of statistically 1 in 5 women and 1 in 20 men, as well as emboldening the perpetrators who, via their hilarity, feel reassured that their actions are not really that bad. On their shoulders are those men who go a step further and join in on the joke. Then there are the apologists, those who, when a woman discloses an experience of sexual violence or harassment, dismiss it as a misunderstanding, provides an excuse or responsibilities, or blames the woman instead. They view feminism and conversations about sexual predators, as per #MeToo, and tackling sexual exploitation as witch hunts and going too far and demonizing men. On top of this are the men who become aggressive in response to being turned down, calling women's names like prick tease or accusing them of leading them on. The sexual harassers at work, on the street, and those who make rape or violent threats online against women. The voyeurs who take pictures of their sexual partners without their consent and send them on to their mates. The stalkers, the men who try to constantly monitor and have complete control of their targets' lives, both online and offline. Then there are what Pittman refers to as the brokers of power, the men who are actively working to protect the structural interests and remind women of their place and quash allegations with reminders that women will be disbelieved, such that women do not report their victimizations. It is these persons who provide institutional support for abuses to occur. Then there are those who commit the indecent and sexual assaults through to the rapists, and on top of the hierarchy, ably supported by other behaviours from the benign to the more sinister below them, are those sexual predators who have such power that they are protected and to an extent visible. So I know that was a lot, but when we hear all that, it's easy to see how a man like Jack started at the bottom of the pyramid and was enabled at each step until he got higher and higher. He was supported by others along the way, and now he continues to support and enable others, both above and below him. We've heard him made sexist, women get in the kitchen jokes. We've seen him demonise women and feminism. We've seen him harass women in public and call them names when they turn him down. We know he is convicted of raping at least one woman and has been accused by another. So his misogynistic jokes and his online content aren't just silly, inconsequential stuff online. It all plays a larger role in rape culture as a whole. Him getting away with the smaller stuff enabled him to move on and do more of the bigger stuff, and to some extent get away with it. And him doing all this stuff online enables others to be able to do the same thing. Anyway, the rest of the video is just him rambling for 40 minutes without saying anything new, and it's frustrating because in videos like this one, there is some underlying stuff that would be interesting to talk about, but Jack just keeps missing the points and never says anything useful. I just don't think he's intelligent enough to have real in-depth or nuanced discussions about these topics. He doesn't really fully understand what he's talking about. And this is kind of the problem with people like Jack, right? Not only their stupidity, but the fact that in a lot of what he says, there's some little moments where you're like, oh, actually, maybe that's an interesting topic. Oh, maybe that's a good point. Because they use legitimate arguments amongst their covert and sometimes just overt misogyny to make even their harmful views seem more legitimate. So Clementine Ford writes about this in her book Boys Will Be Boys, where she says, men's rights activists are slightly more worrisome breed of creep because they use some of the genuine issues men face as a sort of Trojan horse by which they can sneak a far more insidious agenda into the public discourse. MRAs are capable of recognising the harm that patriarchy does to men, the increased risk of suicide, the shunting of their emotional selves, the substantial impact that violence has on men's lives, but instead of working with feminists to dismantle this system of structural oppression, they've identified women as its source. The curious logic of the average MRA holds that feminism and the fight for women's liberation is not only unnecessary because women obviously have more power and privilege than men because we can have sex whenever we want. Yes, this is really an argument that some of them earnestly expound, but that every harm identified by feminism can be countered by an equal and opposite harm being enacted by women against men. I personally think there's a strong argument to be made for the fact that Jack Densmore is the embodiment of toxic masculinity, which is a phrase that we hear increasingly often, but a lot of people seem to misunderstand what it means. Toxic masculinity does not mean that being masculine is in any way inherently toxic. There is absolutely nothing wrong with masculinity or being masculine. What it actually refers to are behaviours and attitudes of hypermasculinity that stress virility over cooperation and violence over compassion, according to Gail's book, Misogyny, the New Activism. Oh, and all the books that I'm mentioning in this, along with other sources and further reading, there's some articles, there's some studies, there's also, it's all in a source document down below, and also some extra videos you can watch that I might have mentioned. Toxic masculinity is harmful to everyone, including men, as it implies there is only one correct way to be masculine and shames anyone who falls outside those narrow confines. That is a problem. Gail's book lists several masculine norms which are upheld by toxic masculinity and outlines how they can be harmful. For example, she talks about how men are taught that to be masculine means to have emotional control and how self-restraint was to be admired and imitated. But in reality, when this becomes toxic, this actually leads to men simply suppressing their emotions to their own detriment or shaming others for expressing their emotions in healthy ways. Emotional control can be healthy, but when it progresses to emotional suppression, it can be dangerous and destructive and often lead to violence. And I think a lot of these attitudes are demonstrated in Jack's video, 7 Types of Men You Must Avoid, brackets, make you weak. Let's take a look at some clips.
People that get easily offended. These are the guys that get triggered by everything. They take everything personally. This was me when I was in high school, guys. I remember being like 15 or 16 years old, and me and my buddies would be making jokes. And every once in a while, they'd make a joke about me that just drove me nuts. I got so angry, I literally wanted to fight them. I was so triggered and emotional. As I got older, I started to work actual real-life jobs. And when I was on a construction site, everybody's mean to you. Everybody breaks your balls all the time. And if you get easily offended, you don't last a week because they're testing you. They want to see how tough you are. They want to see if you're a wimp or an actual guy that can keep his cool and make jokes back. Because wimps and weak people are useless to society.
So the very first thing he's saying is basically don't show emotions, especially if those emotions are hurt or upset. And this is so dangerous for men. This is just toxic masculinity right here. Telling men to bottle up their feelings, never express them, and to stay in unhealthy, unsupportive environments is a huge part of the reason why men's mental health is in the toilet, and it needs to change. A person, whether they're a man or not, should never be afraid to express how they're feeling or say to someone, hey, I'm pretty uncomfortable with that thing you just said for X reason, can you please not? The legend that is Bell Hooks wrote about this in her book, The Will to Change, and she said, in many ways, the fact that today's boy often has a wider range of emotional expression in early childhood, but is forced to suppress emotional awareness later on, makes adolescence all the more stressful for boys. Tragically, were it not for the extreme violence that has erupted among teenage boys throughout our nation, the emotional life of boys would still be ignored. Although therapists tell us that mass media images of male violence and dominance teach boys that violence is alluring and satisfying, when individual boys are violent, especially when they murder randomly, pundits tend to behave as though it were a mystery why boys are so violent. She goes on to write, much of the anger boys express is itself a response to the demand that they not show any other emotions. Anger feels better than numbness because it often leads to more instrumental action. Anger can be, and usually is, the hiding place for fear and pain. So please ignore Jack. If you're a man watching this, please ignore Jack. Do not suppress your emotions until they erupt as violence and anger. Instead, learn to listen to yourself, feel your emotions, and express them in a healthy way. There is no shame in whatever emotions you're feeling and going through. There's something that everyone has to work through on their own in their own way. There are healthy ways to express them and work through them.
White knights. Easily offended people, they take everything personally when it's directed towards them. White knights, these are the kind of people that get offended on behalf of others, which is twice as pathetic.
His next target is people who stand up for others. He calls them pathetic, which is just clearly not true. But it's easy to see why he's targeting them, you know? Go back to our pyramid analogy, right? And you'll see that right at the bottom, the people who prop up the whole pyramid of rape culture and toxic masculinity and misogyny are the people who stay silent and are therefore complicit. Silence allows men like Jack to thrive and keep getting away with sexual violence against women. So of course he's going to try and belittle people who call him out and others like them. He's doing it out of selfishness and he's completely wrong. One of the best and strongest things a person can do is call out injustice and poor behaviour when they see it. And that's not always easy to do, which is why it's such an important thing that we keep encouraging people to do.
You know the reason why there's no women at any kind of men's rights march? It's because women have no problem getting men. They can walk down the street and have a boyfriend by the end of the day. But it's very hard for men to get. That's why every time you go to a feminist rally, there's a million men there. Because the men there are trying to impress the women there so that they can get pussy. It's the greasiest, lamest, most pathetic way to get validation and attention.
This is another clip where there's just so much wrong with it I don't even know where to start. Well, actually I do. He's using a clip of a woman being catcalled and sexually harassed to try and claim it's easy for women to find a boyfriend. I'm sorry, but no.
They can walk down the street and have a boyfriend by the end of the day.
Wow. That's not good. Wow. What's up, beautiful? Have a good day. Hey, what's up, girl? How you doing? Somebody's acknowledging you for being beautiful. She said thank you.
This is absolutely ridiculous. Finding a good person to have a healthy relationship and partnership with is not the same thing as how easy it is for women to be sexually harassed on the street. Of course it's likely for a woman to walk down the street and be harassed. The worrying thing here is the fact that he sees this harassment and thinks, oh, look how lucky women are because they have it so easy. Look at all this attention they're getting. But it's not positive attention. It's scary and it's harmful and it's an act of aggression and harassment. Secondly, the reason a lot of women don't go to men's rights rallies is because so many areas of men's rights activism have been hijacked by misogynists and they're simply not safe places for women. The reason you see so many men at feminist rallies is because they realise that feminism benefits men too, and feminist rallies are a safe and inclusive space for them. Not everyone is as selfish and shallow as you are, Jack. He then decides to target people who need help with finances and social care, and this annoys the hell out of me. I have spoken before about how my family, despite my mum working as much as she could, needed help with benefits when me and my siblings were growing up. And because of this, but not even just because of this, just because it's the right thing to do, I will always be a vocal supporter of people who need to claim benefits for whatever reason. I think they are an amazing thing that as a country we should be investing in, but not Jack. His statement here makes me so damn angry.
These guys are literally sucking the life out of our economy. You ever heard of welfare? You know all these YouTubers that talk about like, oh, a year ago I was on welfare. Bro, if you were on welfare, you're a bitch. Welfare is for pregnant women, mothers, and children. It's not for young, healthy adult males. Number 5, men that you need to avoid because they make you weak. Whipped dudes. Oh, man, the amount of friends I've lost. You chill every day with me for 5 years. You start dating this girl, and all of a sudden I get to see you every 4 months. What the is that? I'm sick of these dudes.
Someone just sounds bitter that his friends are maturing and outgrowing him and his misogyny, to be honest.
That get a girlfriend and they just disappear. Oh, I'll have to ask my girlfriend. Happy wife, happy life. Bull.
If you legitimately say something non-ironically, like, yeah, I think I'm supposed to do something with my girlfriend, like I have plans I already made, that's one thing, versus, oh, I'll have to see what my girlfriend says. Maybe she wants to do something. It's not maybe. If you've already committed to plans, that's one thing. But these guys are the worst, man. They take their women, they put them on pedestals. They're like, oh my God, she's my angel. I don't know what I'd do without her. You don't realize it if that's you. But years from now, this is what turns the girl off. This is what makes her chase an asshole that doesn't give her attention. Because you give her way too much attention. You prioritize her over everything else. And that's what makes you unattractive. And then you have to learn the hard way.
This is just absolute nonsense. In general, everyone is different. Everyone is absolutely different. But in general, women like partners who are interested in them, and care about them. Ignore this idiot, please. He then said this bit's so funny. This is absolutely ridiculous. He says he hates people who watch live streamers. And then he says, just watch this. I couldn't stop laughing when I first watched this. He's so damn delusional and full of himself. This is pathetic.
You know, at some point, boys, I'm going to start live streaming. The reason I haven't started is because I'd be way too good at it. And I'd do it all day, every day, and I'd blow up. And I don't want that right now. But eventually, when I do that, you guys that are going to be watching hours of my content every day, is that a healthy decision to be making? I'm the only guy that'll admit it, but it's not.
He's like one of those toddlers who's like, I'm the best at this game, and every time I play it, I win, but I won't play it with you because I don't want to show you up because I'd win. But if we did play it, I'd totally win, trust me. He is a petulant child. More generally, though, so much of what he says are just basic empty platitudes. Like, listen to this.
Why? Because when you work hard, you provide value and you get paid in accordance to it. And that's how you make money. That's what a career is. That's what a business is. Okay? And your ability to provide value allows you to obtain resources. And based on your resources, this allows you to control your own life. You can wake up when you want to. You can have the relationship you want to, have the friend circle you want to, live in a different place than the same city you've been your entire life. And this is powerful. It improves your mental health. But more importantly, if you've figured out your own situation, now you're in a place where you can help others.
Mate, you literally just described the basics of living in a capitalistic society. This is what nearly every single person does every single day. Please don't pretend this is groundbreaking and inspirational and deep. You're just describing the average adult life. It's like, he's so dumb that when he finally masters the most basic concepts, he's like, oh my God, I need to share them with the world because like, this is groundbreaking for me, so it must be shocking to everyone else too. And it's like, no, not really. This is just how the average person lives. It's not our fault that you are so dumb, you don't understand how basic it is.
Hi, editing me here again. I made that joke earlier that Jack Densmore has never had an original thought in his life, and it turns out I was more accurate than I even realised. It turns out as well, Jack Densmore is just a straight up plagiarist. I found this one video of his about like how desexualizing your brain is a cheat code and me, and I was like, okay. And then I found on Reddit someone had pointed out that it uses the exact same thumbnail and script as another video. So I went online and looked, and it turns out that this title has been used again and again and again on YouTube by many channels. However, what really got me was the similarities between Jack's script and another script on a channel that was much bigger. Jack basically copied the script almost word for word in places, and I'm just going to play you a few examples of this. Jack's video was published something like 3 months after the original.
Social media, television, and music have all over-sexualized our brain to the point that men no longer have control.
Social media, television, and even seemingly harmless YouTube videos have all over-sexualized our brain to the point that men no longer have control.
Being sexually disciplined is a cheat code for winning across life.
The cool thing is that being sexually disciplined is actually the cheat code for winning in every aspect of life.
So today, I'm going to walk you through a 7-step process to desexualize your brain and become sexually disciplined.
So today, I'm going to walk you through a 5-step process. Don't worry, bro. Not too many steps, only 5, to desexualize your brain and then become, as they say, sexually disciplined.
Start your sexual discipline journey, you have to start by quitting pornography. Research shows that those that consume pornography have lower sexual desire and lower sexual satisfaction. Now, the important part with the research is that it also proved that as soon as you stop the pornography, you revert all the negative side effects.
Step number 2, quit fapping to online content. I don't just mean on Pornhub, but I mean everything, bro. But research shows that Melvins that consume pornography have lower sex drive and lower satisfaction. Thankfully, bro, research has shown that as soon as you stop the fapping and you stop consuming all this shit, your body starts to change back and you can actually revert the negative side effects.
Is that men are spending all their time chasing women and are having zero results. What could you have done with that time? As a matter of fact, I'll tell you what you could have done. I want you to find a new hobby, a new passion, a new business to start.
Is to replace your bad habit with a new activity. So you got to think, bro, what could you have done with that time that you spent fapping? What could you have done with that time you spent looking at other women? It could be reading, it could be walking, exercising.
Anyway, finally his most common kind of content on this Denmo channel at the time were his dating advice videos, videos about women, how to hit on women, why women suck, blah 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 blah. There is so much to cover here, but one of the repeated themes is Jack consistently putting down women, pointing out apparent differences between men and women, how men can apparently get away with behavior that women can't, and how women only have value because of their appearance. It's really damn gross. He just completely misunderstands or misrepresents what women want, what motivates a lot of women, and it's all very dehumanizing.
Because a lot of girls, they don't have a lot going on, just like guys don't have a lot going on outside of their job. So as soon as they get into a relationship, they become super clingy and they just want to spend like every waking hour of every waking day with you. The only reason women buy nice clothes is because, one, they care what other women think, obviously, but two, they want to attract men.
Their value has nothing to do with how much money they make. Their value has nothing to do with how many friends they have, how smart they are, how pleasant they are to be around, how funny they are, how charismatic they are, what school they went to. Has nothing to do with that. It literally is just physical beauty. And I know there's going to be some women watching this like, really, Denmo? Did you just essentially boil down all of my value to how good I look? Yes, I did. Huge influence there from churches, from their parents and their grandparents, and the fact they stayed together that put a lot of emphasis on not necessarily sleeping around before finding somebody to settle down with. So basically, traditional women are influenced to have a relatively low body count, to only date with the intention of like having something serious. And they are usually very influenced by the church and tradition. So when it comes to dating these girls, yes, it's less likely she'll sleep around as much. The problem is you might have to wait a while to bang her, but it could be worth it depending what you want. They're just normal, down-to-earth girls. It's not so much that they're so special. It's just that like the standards have gotten so low for most men that they'd literally do anything with a pulse, despite most girls out there literally not being worthy of dating, bro. Certain people, but a lot of women have attention and validation-seeking behaviors. You could even call them disorders, where they need attention and validation from men. And they get this by posting photos and videos specifically to get men's attention on social media platforms like Instagram. And this includes showing a lot of skin, a lot of physical characteristics. You don't want that, okay? Women are always looking for something more serious. That's their job. They subconsciously don't even realize it, but their whole biological thing is like find the right man and then raise their child. And that's not to say that's all a woman is good for. But what I'm saying is like if we peel back the layers and we go back to like biology, men are trying to spread seed as much as possible because we're probably going to die. And we don't even know if that girl is going to give birth to our child. So we just need to like throw Hail Marys and then die in the war or whatever. Whereas women, they are much more selective. Like, okay, I'm going to have to raise this kid. I'm going to have to hold him in my body. So I need to pick the right guy that, one, does the qualities that would make him a good father, and two, is likely to stick around. And that's hardwired into us. You can take as many SSRIs and birth controls as you guys want, but at the end of the day, we're still animals, right? Dating is hard. Women have it easy. Let's say that girls only like guys that ignore them and kind of like make jokes about them and like don't reply that fast and like, you know, pretend you're busy so that they think you're doing other cool stuff. Sure, that's true. But like, I don't like that. You know, I know that if I am into a girl, but I show too much attention, if I like give her fast replies and I'm always available and I move things around so that I can hang out with her, she'll lose attraction. I wish that it wasn't that way, but that's just how the game is. But I'm not bitter about it. I'm just like, this is one of those things. It's like a strategic thing that you have to do. It's a game, bro. It's a fucking game.
One of his grossest videos on this channel is about the signs that a girl is a hoe, and it's just awful in every way.
What's up, bro? I am a hoe expert. I spent years interviewing, pranking, and dating these hoes. And I know all about them hoes. I speak hoe, actually. It's my second language. So in this video, I'm going to tell you the subtle signs that a girl is a hoe. This doesn't mean she's a low-value person. It's just that you probably don't want to date her. Because 1, she has a high body count. 2, she does hoe stuff. And we don't want that. That's not a good quality you look for in a girl. I've never done this before. Have you heard that before, bro? Oh my God, like I've never done this before. This is the first time I've ever done this with a guy. I've only ever done this with you. Bullshit, bro. Come on. Girls say this all the time because they know that if they're perceived as a hoe, a man is less likely to commit to them, take them seriously. Like, we'll still bang these girls, obviously, but we're way less likely to commit to them because we value women that preserve their value, their body counts, their bonding, long-term relationships, being a good girlfriend, not cheating, not engaging in like thought, promiscuous behavior, going out to clubs, banging random dudes, right? They understand that is very unattractive. So what they will say in order to make you not have those thoughts, like sometimes you get a feeling a girl's kind of a hoe, but what they do to make you not think that is be like, oh, like I've never done this before, or oh my God, usually like I wait 3 or 4 dates, but you're special, right? It's bullshit. I'd say the same thing if I was a hoe. I'd be like, yeah, I've totally never dude I just met at a club before. You're the first guy. Before that, I was a virgin nun and I've never had sex. Like, if you're a girl and you're posting bikini photos, swimsuit photos, club photos, like those mirror selfies where you got like your tits popped out, looking good, right? I've liked those photos before. I've banged a bunch of chicks like that. But yeah, it's hoe shit, right? And guys, when they look at that, they don't think, oh, this is a high value woman. I'll definitely make her my girlfriend. I'm sure she definitely doesn't sleep with many guys. No, of course. It's a funnel, right? She posts that photo and a little story, DMs are on fire. DMs are just getting exploded, right? There's every dude who's horny on a Friday sliding in there. That was me. An idiot move. Now, the impulsive stuff is more like short-term things that probably aren't a good idea. So risk-taking. This is rewarded when men do it because men are supposed to kind of die. Like a lot of guys are supposed to risk their lives in order to be successful. It's kind of what men do. Whereas women, they're supposed to preserve it. So if a woman's taking risks and being impulsive, one-night stands, tattoos, face piercings, shaving their head, dropping everything, traveling to a different country, that all leads to hoe. And we don't want any of that, okay? If a guy does it, well, let's be honest, 100 guys could do it and maybe 5 of them, okay? But 100 girls do it, 100 girls, guaranteed. When having sex casually means nothing to them. Ooh, that's a big one. Yeah, if you bang a chick with no attachment whatsoever, then that means that she doesn't need any attachment or emotional connection to bang, which means she doesn't necessarily see sex as like a bonding, emotional connection kind of activity, which means she just bangs for the sake of banging, like a dude. And then the guy she likes, the main guy she's banging, he'll ignore her naturally because girls love to be ignored. And any playboy guy that's got my course and bangs a lot knows that what you want to do is give a girl a lot of attention and then just pull back a little bit and then she'll just start reaching out to you. It's manipulative. I agree. Use it with caution. But the problem is girls are manipulating guys too. So it's like we're at war here, I love the idea that you could just hang out with a girl and be honest to her. Like, yeah, like I'd like to see you. But instead you got to ignore her for 3 days. Otherwise she gets too bored, right? Pretty toxic.
Once again, double standards, misogyny, disrespect, encouraging manipulation, ignoring women's communication and boundaries. I still don't understand how people are actually listening to this man though. He's so damn cringy and unironically uses words like bro and chad constantly. Like, who would take this seriously? Shocking.
I know chads that can't get girls. They're tall, good looking, funny, they make good money, dress well, have lots of friends, but they still strike out with women. In fact, a lot of girls approach or are approached by handsome guys, but as soon as they start talking, the girl's like, ew, what the f? So why is it that all these chads are striking out? One of the things that I find the most perplexing, the most ironic, is that a lot of these guys are, on paper, chads, studs, beauties, but they're having issues with women. Whether it's dating, approaching, or once they're in an actual relationship, a lot of guys that you think should not have any struggles whatsoever are having problems with women. And I'm gonna break down the reasons why and how. If you are a Chad or you wanna be a Chad and you're working towards being a Chad, you can overcome these issues despite your Chadness. And despite having most of the boxes checked that you think, well, that's all I need to do, right? But in fact, there's more. The definition of Chad. The stereotypical Chad is somebody that's over 6 feet tall, facial structure, usually muscular and athletic. They're smiling all the time. Everybody likes to be around them. They're funny, charismatic. Everything kind of comes easy to them. People just are drawn to them because they are a Chad. Now, what's funny is, as much as you could look at somebody and be like, yeah, that's a Chad, most of the guys I know that people consider Chads, on paper, on dating apps, they don't look like Chads, but it's their persona, it's their behavior, their aura, if you will. You get all this feedback, Chad here, Chad there, and then you guys rub off on each other, and that kind of makes you act like a Chad without being a Chad. Holy shit, I think I just exploded my own brain with all this Chad math I'm doing here.
So the difference with me is when I bang chicks and they ask to connect to my car for Bluetooth, I'm like, no, we're gonna listen to my music. I only play classic rock. That's it. And if you don't like classic rock, then stick your head out the window. Okay, gonna approach some girls today. Time to train. You need to practice before you approach girls. You can't just go in there, not warmed up, not having a game plan, and not knowing what you're doing. Because if you do, you're gonna lose. And not just lose, but get brutally KO'd. It's gonna destroy your ego, it's gonna hurt you. You're gonna go home like, and then you're never gonna leave your house again. And then you're gonna be watching videos like this. Yeah, that doesn't sound very good, does it? And today, we're gonna be working on our practice movements.
There's also so many cases of him talking about how women always make false accusations against men, which is ironic coming from a man with a literal rape conviction. Remember, I'm going to keep saying it. And he talks about how some of the worst trauma a man can get is from simply being rejected by a woman. It's just quite laughable. Here's a couple of clips, but obviously not every example of it.
2000s come along. So now, as you guys know, social media, dating apps, women are earning more money, and guys are having all kinds of issues with the learning system. There's the whole Me Too movement that just destroyed the lives of many men. So you got a bunch of guys terrified of approaching women because not for like actual evil people being held accountable and like prosecuted and stuff like that. I'm talking about false accusations. All of these awful stories, guys like Ben Feibelman, dudes getting kicked out of universities, and then it comes out they're innocent, no punishment for the false accusers. Like, we can go down a whole rabbit hole on that. It still happens nowadays. Look up the Trevor Bauer situation, Johnny Depp. I mean, constantly, that's a major problem. And that has caused a rift in men and women and who believes who, right? Because we've essentially gotten to a point where men now have no value, all right? Much how like a lot of guys will go and approach a girl and it'll go poorly. And after that, they have like trauma of being rejected and they avoid approaching and meeting women at all costs because they don't want to relive that experience.
I honestly think the moment men start talking about false accusations, as though it's a completely common and normal thing and more common than rape itself, is such a red flag. Fake rape accusations are no more common than fake accusations of any other crime, and yet we don't see people doubting the experiences of victims of other crimes unless they are crimes which primarily affect women, for example, rape, sexual assault, sexual harassment, and domestic violence. If someone says, yeah, I had my house burgled, you don't get people making videos about how the house probably wasn't even burgled. They probably just gave their stuff away and now regret it. Maybe the homeowners didn't lock their doors properly, so it was their own fault they got burgled, really. Didn't you hear? Some people file false burglary reports because they want to commit insurance fraud. So we should doubt every single person who ever claims they've been burgled, right? It's probably a false accusation. Kate Harding writes about how rape culture feeds into all this in her fantastic book, Asking for It, which I think I've spoken about in videos before. It's very good. I encourage people to go read it. She writes, and again, sorry, I'm quoting a lot here, but it's important to cover it, I think. She writes, rape culture manifests in myriad ways. I'll get to several of them in the rest of the book, but its most devilish trick is to make the average non-criminal person identify with the person accused instead of the person reporting a crime. Rape culture encourages us to scrutinise victims' stories for any evidence that they brought violence upon themselves, and always to imagine ourselves in the terrifying role of good man falsely accused before we rush to judgment. We believe there's one very specific type of rapist, the kind who wields a weapon, attacks strangers with no warning, and leaves abundant evidence of violence on the victim's body. But not that some people deliberately rape their friends, girlfriends, wives, children, colleagues, or drunk new acquaintances. We can talk about how that sort of rape exists, and even how it's the most common sort, but when pressed, we're almost never willing to acknowledge that those rapes exist. Not when the accused are people we know, or even just people who remind us of people we know. Not when they remind us of us. Bell Hooks also talks about why men continue to be able to get away with raping too, not only because the crime is not taken seriously and victims aren't believed, but because men are often excused because some people believe they just can't help it. She writes that no matter how many men in our nation are celibate or have only occasional sexual experiences, people still believe that sex is something men have to have. Underlying this assumption is the belief that if men are not sexually active, they will act out or go crazy. This is why male-on-male sexual violence is accepted in our nation's prisons. This is why rape, whether date rape, marital rape, or stranger rape, is still not deemed a serious crime. This is why the rape of children, especially when conducted by mild-mannered nice men, is allowed. If this were not so, celebrities accused of sexually abusing children would no longer be cultural icons. And that's what we're seeing here. Not the children part, but the fact that sexual violence against women is still not taken seriously. And this is something I said in my last few past videos. It's absolutely not, and it bothers me. Not only are people like Jack Densmore more critical of people who have been raped than people who rape, but he, for example, Jack, is literally a convicted criminal, apparently on the sex offenders register, who is still avoiding punishment and is still allowed to make money off content which promotes misogyny and the abuse and disrespect of women. He has been convicted of a crime of sexual violence against women, and yet he's still allowed to make money off encouraging this behaviour in other men. How is that okay? The rest of his content on this channel is either him just insulting his audience or teaching men how to be manipulative and cheat on women. Oh, and get ready for his use of autistic as an insult again. It's ridiculous.
You're just lazy, bro. It's a victim mindset. And today, we are gonna smash the fuck out of it, bro. I know that you wanna click away right now. You probably just came to this video just to leave a comment saying something like, "Oh, no, it's not true, because I'm blah, blah, blah." I have a theory that the majority of people that comment on YouTube videos are actually autistic. So, in order to generate more leads, you need to cold approach. If you're really rusty, if you've been out of the game for a while, go on dating apps and match with chicks that you don't necessarily find attractive. And I know that sounds dark. I'm not trying to tell you to lead girls on or anything like that. But you know what? Take her out, send her some text messages, validate her. Don't hook up with her, don't lead her on like that, but buy her a meal, buy her dinner. Go through the motions of texting, setting up a date, going out and dressing up nice, holding the door open for her, bantering, making her laugh, asking her questions, and then teasing her a little bit. You need to practice this so that when you are around a girl that you actually are attracted to, you don't blow it because you're nervous and rusty. So I don't mean break these girls' hearts and lead them on. Obviously, you can just go on a date with somebody and then you don't have any obligation to like date them or marry them or anything. But just do the texting, go on the date, buy her a meal for her time, and then be like, hey, we could be friends after or whatever. A lot of girls go on dates for free meals, but a lot of them go on dates just for the practice, just for the validation. They get out of a relationship, they download Hinge, they send a couple messages and a couple guys match with them and reply, and all of a sudden they're like, ooh, I am hot, guys do like me. Realistically, no, these guys are lonely and bored, and the fact that you're on a dating app in the first place kind of implies that. And to be honest, that's why you'll never really meet a good girl on a dating app. It's for lonely, hurt people that need validation. Realistically, it's desperate. It's like the worst case scenario as a single person is a dating app, right? So you're gonna be with a lot of broken, unconfident, and desperate people on there. And I know that sounds toxic. Now, I will say this, the advice that I'm about to share is gonna offend 90% of women. Just looking at the title alone, they're gonna be like, oh my God, that sounds bizarre. Why on earth would they want you to do such a thing? But by following this advice, you're actually going to be doing your girl a favor because you're going to be making her more attracted to you. You're going to be making yourself less clingy, less needy, which is actually going to make your relationship much more likely to be successful. Most men are very simple. We're not as hypergamous as women, and as much work as we do on ourselves, it's always going to be easier for women to get sex in relationships. But because of this, we're always at a disadvantage when it comes to dating. Leverage is very important, and women always have leverage because the majority of men do not have the same opportunity to simply shop around and pick whichever woman they want, whereas women do have access to multiple options. And a great example of this is dating apps, where a woman can make a profile, a couple basic selfies, and instantly get hundreds of likes, messages, and opportunities to date and get into relationships. It's saying is you will start out abundant and become scarce because you no longer have those same short-term options. You're not talking to other girls. You're not developing your leads or working the social skill muscle. But women still do maintain that abundance. They never go into scarcity because they still have the short-term options. Always. They are always one argument away from making a dating app and hoeing themselves out. So they are always playing with the house money, if that makes sense. Because of this, women maintain their abundance mentality while men begin to develop a scarcity mentality. Most men start to rely on their girlfriend for many emotional needs. They start to put her on a pedestal and ignore her bad behaviors. They essentially enter a state of scarcity where they forget that other women are out there, will treat them as good, if not better. And this is something that I've found myself in before as well, where I'll be dating a girl and over time I start to ignore her bad behavior. I start to become a little bit too close, a little bit too lovey-dovey, and then all of a sudden she pulls back. Then I start talking to other girls, not necessarily like cheating on her or anything, but like I'm talking to them as a friend, but they think I'm actually kind of into them, and they just treat you so much better. And then you think, oh my God, like why are these women all of a sudden like head over heels treating me so good? But the girl I'm with is like being super disrespectful, right? And you'll see the difference and you'll be like, oh my God, this is crazy. And that reminds you that you actually do have options. Most men, they never find themselves in this position. So they feel like, oh my God, this is the only girl for me. Oh my God, I can't even negotiate here. So you just have to kind of go with what she says. And that is when you become a simp and she loses attraction to you. When you get emotional needs and validation from other women, it makes you require less attention from your girlfriend. Now, when you require less attention from your girlfriend, it makes you less needy and less clingy. And being needy and clingy are the things that push girls away from you. And the easiest way to be needy and clingy is not have any other options or no other ways to get validation or attention from women.
Now seems like a good time to talk about one of his other podcasts titled Good Bro, Bad Bro. It's awful. He thankfully hasn't posted on here in nearly 2 years, but it is known for clips like this.
How many girls do you know actually have hobbies?
Now, this clip went viral on TikTok a while back, and Jack rightly got quite a lot of backlash. After they got a bunch of criticism for this, they decided to delete their video, but I was still able to find a bunch of clips from it from two fantastic YouTube channels, one called Atomic Twins, who reacted to it, and another from a guy called Saji Sharma, so big shout out to those two. I will leave their videos linked in the source document if you want to watch them in full. Very, very grateful to them for reacting to this video and allowing me to be able to use some clips for this video. It's interesting because in some of these podcast episodes, Jack seems to be saying the right things. He'll say stuff about how women are people too, and it's not their fault if you can't find a date as a man. It's something you need to work on in yourself, right? These are all things that sound really reasonable, and if you only saw these small snippets of him saying that, you might even mistake him for a reasonable guy. But he repeatedly slips back into his real self in clips like the one we saw in the last section about how women are hoes and you don't want them. Or here, where it seems this entire podcast episode was just a 1 hour long misogynistic rant about how women shouldn't post selfies, or how they only ever spend money on makeup, or me.
Would be a girl that spends a lot of money on cosmetics.
What I see more often than not, though, is women who are living outside their means. You know, girls who work at Starbucks, and there's nothing wrong with that.
From being a doctor to working at Starbucks.
Great job.
Oh. But you can't be buying Gucci purses when you work at Starbucks.
But then they're at the Gucci store.
Dude gets ready in 5 minutes. A girl.
But we can tell that you get ready
hour and
in
a half
5 minutes.
sometimes.
Yeah.
Lipstick.
Right.
Mascara. Eyeline.
Yep.
Men are so much more sensitive to smell than women. It is a major red flag when a girl frequently posts photos on Instagram with the sole purpose being for male attention. Straps, swimsuit photos, body photos, selfies.
Stop.
You know that angle too, where they're on the angle? And then there's all those girls like, oh my gosh, she does it for herself. No.
She does it for other girls.
If you're posting a photo for yourself, then the photo's never posted.
Put it on private.
Physically shaping her body through exercising, that takes a tremendous amount of effort. I would argue it doesn't take as much effort as it does for a man to do the same thing. Because a man has to resist Earth with gravity when he lifts weights. He has this whole diet he has to follow. Go out with a girl with tattoos, dude. Green flag.
Yeah.
Girls with tattoos, freaks in the sheets, dude.
Bro.
Yeah. And they're basically displaying it. Like, if you're a good girl, but you're a freak in the sheets, like, no tats, it's like, you don't know that. She could be a librarian.
So what's quite laughable is that when he was rightly called out for all of this, he simply deleted the video and went on this now also deleted rant about how everyone was taking him out of context, and then it's all the fault of these damn feminists online. Like, mate, there is no context where you saying any of this stuff would be okay. This isn't a context issue, this is a you issue. Again, you know, men these days, they just don't want to take accountability, do they? To quote them. Get it? In the reverse. Yeah.
Hey guys, so I have a really cool little video clip to show you. I recently dropped a hour-long podcast. For whatever reason, the toxic feminists on TikTok love to throw your boy out of context and paint me as a evil, women-hating, right? Just got to address the train wreck of a start on TikTok by the woke feminists on there.
Shout out to the woke feminists on TikTok, eh?
You've been dealing with feminists on TikTok for a while, buddy. Tell us about that.
Pretty much my entire life, buddy. Look, TikTok is a weird platform where pretty much anyone reports your content, there's a good chance it will get taken down.
Yeah. And I think that a lot of these feminist woke and cancel culture channels on TikTok, they have their whole little armies that they send after people to like get them removed off of there. They kind of cancel people within the app. I love feminism, guys, especially the toxic version on TikTok. Look, if you're a girl on TikTok and you don't have facial piercings, tattoos, or pink hair, you're not a feminist.
That's a fact, buddy.
If you really want to be a feminist, you got to get heavy. You got to let your armpit hair grow. You need to have purple hair, at least blue. Maybe not purple, but at least blue. And then pierce like something not normal, like the nose. Is that feminist enough?
I don't think that. You need at least like the septum, like the one in the middle, like bare minimum, if not an eyebrow, you know?
What about like the chin? Pierce the chin.
Can you pierce your chin?
Bro, I've seen it. Oh, dude, you should have seen some of the specimens leaving comments on some of these last videos. Boys, shout out to you. See, when guys are mad on the internet, they don't go as hard. Dude, feminist, whoa, 30 comments, bro.
Oh my God. Shout out to all the war pigs in the comments.
Thank you guys for all the engagement. Love you guys so much.
And come on, it's not feminists' fault that you're awful people and can't handle hearing that. The way they need to just resort to name-calling and personal insults is just so immature. Let's take a look at some of the podcast episodes that they left up though and some clips from it. Some of his episodes are just him ranting to a camera, some are him chatting with his co-host, and some are him interviewing guests. Titles include things like, dating is easy for women and here's why, insane proof, how to get a girlfriend, breaking down our past relationships, how to know if girl is girlfriend material, how to stop low-value behavior in men, the easiest time to get a girlfriend, cuffing season explained, and ironically, why some men hate women and how to stop, brackets, incels. Let's take a look at a small selection of clips.
This is a podcast that is for young kings and queens that want to improve their dating, their lifestyle, and overall their confidence, ability to talk to other people, and have a better understanding of male and female nature, particularly when it comes to dating and getting into relationships. I'm joined by Cringe Daddy. What's up, buddy?
What's going on, brother?
How's it going? So today we're going to be talking about why dating is easy for women and how they leverage dating as a way to basically be very selective and picky when it comes to the men that they get with, and how it's actually comparatively incredibly hard for men to be able to pull off the same thing. Now, right off the bat, you guys have probably heard before the old saying, 20% of men are getting with 80% of women.
So the co-host here is a guy who goes by the name Cringe Daddy, which makes my skin crawl, let's be honest. I don't have too much to say about him. He just seems a little dumb. There's not much going on in his head. He just sort of sits back and nods along as Jack spews misogyny a lot of the time. Often Jack will say things that are just like completely wrong and just blatant misinformation, and he just sits there and goes, "Whoa, bro," and it's like, shut up. It is ridiculous.
Whoa.
They basically spend a long time ranting about how women get everything for free, boo-hoo-hoo, which is not even close to true. They use an example of clubs, and I mean, I'll be honest, I haven't been to a club in years. I'm old and boring, but I do love a night out, dancing and having a little drink, and I tend to go to like smaller bars and stuff, right? Not once have I ever had someone pay for my nights out. As an adult, you pay for yourself. That's just how it works. I mean, with friends or dates or whatever, you might do a thing where like, I buy a round, you buy a round, whatever. But I don't know where they get this delusional idea that women just get everything handed to them, because that doesn't happen in the real world. They say all this stuff like it's a fact. But like, let's just say this has been their experience, right? And every time they've gone to a club, they end up just like paying for a bunch of stuff for women. That's not normal, and that's on you. You're choosing to pay for a bunch of stuff for them and then complain about it. That's not something that the average woman just expects or has happened to them. So if you want to stop buying women free stuff, just stop buying it for them. This is entirely a you problem. No one's forcing you to pay for stuff for other people, yeah? Ridiculous.
And think about it, bro. Like, girls are getting a free ride throughout the entire club experience, but men have a very different experience. You know, like, we'll wait an hour plus in line to get into a poppin' club. Mm-hmm. We'll pay $20, even higher cover to get in that club. Buy girls drinks all night. Buy bottle service. Some guys are spending thousands of dollars on bottles a night. Why? Mm-hmm. To try and impress girls.
Women are the product of nightclubs.
Yeah.
The product isn't alcohol. The product isn't the entertainment there. It's that there's girls there. Because no guy is going to buy anything or go somewhere where it's majority men.
And also, yes, this man literally just called women a product and that he thinks men can buy. It's sickening. They're not even hiding their misogyny at this point. They then go on to complain about women having standards, which I'll keep saying is not a bad thing. Women, keep raising your standards, please. That's great. And also, can they please, well, I was going to say, can they please stop referring to women as girls, because that really annoys me. But based on their history, I do actually think they date girls. They go for these like young little 18-year-olds that they can manipulate because they're naive. So yeah, they are actually dating girls, aren't they? And it's creepy as hell. Isn't it, Coops? Yeah.
And like, think about the impact that has on the game theory of the app, right? If women know that every time they swipe right, every time they approve a man, that's another dude in their DMs dropping a cheesy pickup line saying, hey, giving them another notification on their phone, they're reluctant to swipe right. They know every time they swipe right, it's a match, and they've become so picky that you have to have a near perfect Tinder profile as a man to be in that top 20% of dudes who are getting matches.
They must even think about their own algorithm too. Like, if every time it's a match for them, they're going to be like, well, it's probably going to start showing me lower quality guys. Like, the more freely they swipe and actually give right swipes, the higher match percentage they have. It might start showing them lower dudes, because if they're swiping right as much as possible, Tinder's going to be like, well, this is good, because the more guys we can get that match with these girls, the better time the guys are going to have. So they probably start showing the girls lower end profiles of dudes, and they probably get offended. They're like, oh my God, why is Tinder even showing me these guys? So then they become way more selective, and it actually ends up getting ass backwards results, where what ends up happening is guys that are probably dateable, probably attractive to the girl, because of the paradox that these girls are stuck in on their swiping habits, they'll swipe left to keep a good ratio on the app.
Yeah.
It's quite funny because they keep using phrases like game theory and paradox, but I don't think they know what those words mean, and they consistently use them in the wrong contexts.
Let's talk about, so there's the 80% of women that are going for the top 20% of men. And then the 80% of men are left fighting over the bottom 20% of women. Let's talk about those bottom 20% of women, because they exist. And
they exist in the TikTok comments of this show.
Yes, they do. There are a lot of women that are having a complete lack of dating success with men. And because of that, they are actually making us give a bad rap to all these legitimate girls that use social media platforms like TikTok. Because when I look at the comment sections of videos on the TikTok, you'll see all these super triggered, angry, purple-haired girls just dropping negative comments. You'll never see hot girls in there, though.
Never, bro.
But if all I see are these feminist girls, I just associate, okay, so it's just women in general are angry. But then I start to look at their profiles, and I'm like, oh, now I get it.
Oh, actually, he is right about this. Us girls with purple hair. Yeah, do you want some purple hair? You want to join us? Yeah. We will never be hot. And we can't be right about these two being disgusting, misogynistic pigs because we're too ugly to be right about anything. It's just a fact of life. Oh, boo-hoo-hoo. It's so hard being a bottom 20%er with purple hair. What a terrible, terrible life I have. Seriously, though, they're ridiculous. They can sit there and insult the appearance of people like me all they want, but we're still right about them being scummy. Them not liking how women like me look has nothing to do with the fact that we're still right, and they're still misogynistic pigs who are harming women. Oh, here's another example of something else that Jack misunderstands too, and him spreading misinformation. I've rarely seen a man so confidently incorrect about so many things. But anyway, he talks about femcells and says that it stands for feminist incels, which is just completely not true at all. Femcel communities have nothing to do with feminism. They don't even call themselves feminists. It stands for female incel, and actually the term incel was originally coined by a woman. So technically, incel is a term used to describe women that men have just co-opted for themselves because that's what men do, and so women have then had to find themselves a new word, which is femcel. I actually have a whole video about femcells and their communities and their history if anyone's interested. Again, I'll link it in the source document. I was incredibly critical of them, but also compassionate where I needed to be. It's a difficult subject. Point is, Jack doesn't know what a femcell is and completely misrepresents them.
I think what leads to these, the same way we have incels, like men that just women online.
Yeah.
There's a growing epidemic of femcells,
right.
Feminist incels.
Whoa.
And these are the girls that, despite having the female advantage of being pursued by the opposite sex and statistically having a superior edge on every dating app, in every instance of dating, there are girls that doesn't apply to.
Right.
And there's a lot of them.
And they need love too, bro.
They do.
We love all those queens too.
Yeah.
They may not love us, but we love them.
On an unrelated point, fellas, is it gay to take photos now? Jack says yes.
Like, men are more self-conscious because they feel like it's feminine behavior to take photos, which is true to an extent.
It's pretty sus, right?
Yes, pretty sus, right?
This is just so stupid, it really made me laugh. There's also this clip of Mr. Can't Go 3 Words Without Swearing complaining about women swearing and how men don't like disagreeable women.
Only other thing I would say that turns me off with women on dating apps, hypothetically, because I don't use them, would be the bio, man. If the bio is just aggressive, there's swear words in it, this is what I want, it just comes from a place of like, oh, you're going to be like, men don't like disagreeable women, or girls already telling them what to do in the bio.
He's annoying, but at least we know what to do now, ladies. If we want to repel creeps like Jack, we just need to be disagreeable women.
More men hate on women than other men. But I would argue more women hate on other women than men hate on other women.
Whoa.
Women's biggest haters are other women.
That's a fact, bro.
Hot girls know this. If you're not a hot girl, you probably don't have as much of an understanding. But dude, the bottom barrel feminist chicks, man, they hate a hot girl that loves like cooking and cleaning and will vocalize that. Feminist's worst nightmare.
Does he not see that this is literally a product of normalized misogyny and it's awful? Also, sure, yeah, a woman who hates other women, that's horrible and should be critiqued. But at worst, a woman who hates women is likely to maybe cause some hurt feelings. When a man hates a woman, that's likely to end in assault, rape, or murder. So let's not pretend they're even close to being the same thing, please. All you need to do to prove this is look at violent crime stats. Men are more likely to be the perpetrators of violent crimes against every single group, and men are overwhelmingly more likely to be the perpetrators of violence against women, and that is true for both cis and trans women. And sorry, but a woman who loves cooking is not a feminist's worst nightmare. I'm a pretty damn good cook. I'm okay with that. If we're like, hey, doing something you love, good for you. Our worst nightmare is a rapist escaping punishment and continuing to make money off teaching other men how to be abusive misogynists, which interestingly seems to be more common than you might think. They go on to give us other completely original insights like this.
I think the biggest green flag, by the way, is a lack of awful red flags. You know, like sometimes the biggest box you can check is not checking all the bad boxes.
The basis of being like a good, high quality girl is just not having any red flags. That kind of shows how like desperate guys are. Like,
yeah,
no green flags, but hey, there's no reds either. One of the things about a girl being tidy, cleaning up, and making the bed, it's not just her shit, your stuff too, man.
Yeah.
You go into your kitchen, all of a sudden it's wiped down. You didn't even ask. It was just done, man.
Yeah.
That's a big one. You know, she'll take care of your shit as if it's hers.
Bro, she'll empty your fridge out and like clean up all the stains that you got in there. The microwave too.
There's an old saying, leave a place better than you found it. A high quality girl will do that.
They really do talk much without actually saying anything of substance. It's wild. Oh, and here's where they say they only want to date women who are uninformed and don't know about news or social issues, which is just wild. They literally only want women who are naive and easy for them to manipulate. They have no idea how pathetic they sound, and they're just admitting that they can't handle an educated woman. All this does is make them look really, really dumb. Because they are really, really dumb. Isn't that right, Kubi?
Number 10, green flags in women is when a girl is totally unaware of drama and news.
Bro, can we tie in here too? And this is like maybe a little controversial, like as opposed to like unaware about drama and / news, like unaware of like every little social justice issue in the entire world going on right now.
Pretty niche, but it's so common right now.
Yeah. It's like if a girl like isn't into that stuff, like over the top, I'm like, okay, this is nice.
Yeah.
Like I'm not trying to like hear about this all day, every day.
You know, for every headline about somebody that got shot, what about reading a fucking book about being healthier? What about reading a book about some crazy guy that overcame some incredible challenge or climbed a mountain? Like, there's so much information we could be putting in our brains that's better and more useful for us and healthier than the shit you see on the news, right?
In other examples, Jack talks about male loneliness, which is an important topic and should be discussed, but he just repeats the same 2 or 3 talking points he's said time and time again. It's useless and it's boring. Women's standards are too high. Women only bring sex to the table. Feminists and bad and haters. Boo-hoo, blah, blah, blah. Pity me for being a man. No one cares.
Now, dating has always been like this. Women primarily bring sex to the table and men primarily bring resources, protection to the table. Women have higher standards than ever before. But it's in a woman's nature to continuously test men, because if they're not testing men, men get complacent, they become weak, and then the girl doesn't want to be with them anymore, right?
Yeah.
So if women don't test men, then men are weak and undesirable. In fact, what happens to a lot of guys is they get into relationships where they are high value, they're strong, they're in a good position, but they become weak, death by 1,000 paper cuts, to the woman in the relationship. She becomes the masculine one. All of a sudden the man's not attractive to anymore. She leaves him, and then the guy feels cheated.
Oh, and don't forget to throw in a little bit of transphobia and completely ignore the existence of non-binary people while we're here. Just when we thought he couldn't get any more awful, of course he does.
In this wishy-washy world, especially you weirdos on TikTok, where we can all of a sudden pretend that we're a man for a day or a woman for a day, or there's like 30 different genders. Hot take, there's men and women. I think that's it. I think that's it.
They're going to get banned from TikTok for life.
Well, I'm basing it off of animals, right?
Yeah.
You know? Like, are there pansexual kangaroos?
Maybe. I'm not Australian. I don't know.
Then there's this massively concerning admission too.
In my situation, I had a lot of teachers that really fucked with me, and they were all women.
Yeah.
And so I almost got expelled multiple times in middle school. They thought I was going to be like a school shooter before school shooter was even a thing.
Whoa.
Like, I'm not even kidding. They thought I was bad. Like, they thought I was trying to harm people in the class.
Yeah.
That is not something to brag about. But anyway, he goes on to say in this story that, and it's long and boring, so I'll summarize for you. At school, he started making slingshot-type weapons and one day shot at a girl and hit her, but he decides that it wasn't even a real proper hard hit. She was barely even injured, so he doesn't get why people were making a big deal of it. Totally wasn't his fault. And then obviously he got in trouble for it, and he goes on to blame the female teachers for punishing him for hurting a woman, and because of that he now thinks all women are bad. And what's annoying is his mother went on to defend him for this because boys will be boys. Like, I can't believe it. It's the worst.
In school detention right away, she calls my parents in, and she wanted to bring a police officer to the school. Yeah, it was crazy. So
You're like an arms dealer.
yeah, they wanted to kick me out of the school right away.
Wow.
And it was awful because my teacher didn't back me. Nobody in the class could back me because we were like grade 6.
Yeah.
And the only people that backed me were my parents. My mom came in because my mom's a teacher, and she came in and she's like, "Are you guys out of your fucking mind? He's just making a slingshot. That's what guys do. You guys are totally overreacting here. What's wrong with you?"
Okay, let's move on because I very briefly want to touch on his low effort reaction channel titled Honest Men. The irony of this when he is one of the most dishonest content creators I've ever seen. Crazy. But he introduces his channel like this.
A reaction channel where I'm hopefully going to be able to entertain you as well as educate you by reacting to videos and giving breakdowns and advice while watching them. Essentially, I was recently inspired to start a channel doing this because I had a video of mine and somebody reacted to it. And I'll just show you guys here. I got this little camera set up here. Check this out, guys. Had my buddy help me with this. This guy, Legion of Men, his name is Bo. He reacted to one of my videos and it got a bunch of views. And then I discovered that his channel actually gets a lot of views, and he has all these videos where he basically just like kind of chills in the corner and he reacts. And I was like, wow, this is really cool. Like, I didn't even know that this was a thing, really. I know I sound like a boomer or something, but I just didn't know that people liked watching this kind of content.
This channel is just Jack reacting to other people's content with purposely provocative and offensive titles like asking 50 women what their body count is. Shocking. How to stop being manipulated by women. This is how women lie in lady bars. Why body count ruins women but not men. Why are all beautiful women crazy? And so on. Including this video from just 3 months ago, which is ironically just after he was convicted of rape, where he reacted to a video titled Falsely Accused of R, meaning rape, My 2-Year Nightmare, where once again he's using stories like this to discredit actual victims, including his own victim, who I will remind you, he has been convicted of raping. Let's start by looking at this one, and I'm more interested in Jack's commentary than the original video here.
This shit happens way more often than you think. You just don't hear about it because the news wants to suppress stories like this. For every video like this, there's a bunch of videos where some guy's being accused or people are just parading on him when they don't actually know the details, they don't know the evidence, and they don't realize that no actual evidence is required most of the time. And a lot of these guys, young, innocent men and women, get totally fucked over due to police incompetence as well as, you know, as they said earlier, government perversion. So
we were talking earlier about how so many people seem to think that false rape accusations are super common and doubt every victim and survivor's story. And I think a big part of that comes down to the fact that rape is a crime which is very difficult to convict, which honestly makes any guilty verdict, including a certain one we've been talking about in this video, even more shocking and believable to me. And for some reason, people seem to equate a not guilty verdict with a, oh, the victim must have been making it up, which could not be further from the truth. Just because there's no conviction, that doesn't mean a crime didn't happen. However, in this case, there was a conviction, but that's not the point. I said in a recent video, and I'll say it again, just because someone wasn't convicted, that doesn't mean they're innocent. When I was a kid, our little terraced house had like a shared garden with all of our neighbours. I think it's something like 7, 8 other houses that we shared that garden with. And at the top of the garden, there were a little patch of a couple of sheds, right? And I was maybe 10 years old when my dad's shed got broken into. And also his friend and our neighbour, Mr. Broadhead, his shed got broken into as well. They nicked a bunch of power tools from my dad. They stole some motorbike stuff from Mr. Broadhead. And then a couple of nights later, they came back and they broke into Mr. and Mrs. Broadhead's house and stole a bunch of stuff from them as well. They thankfully didn't get into our house, but I was petrified for a while. I really thought they would. It was scary. Anyway, the police investigated, which is how we know it was the same people, but they never actually caught anyone for it. They never got our stuff back. No one was ever convicted. So if there was no conviction, does that mean we were making it up and no crime ever happened and we made a false burglary claim? No, of course not. And no one would ever question that. So why do people automatically assume if there's no conviction with rape, then the rape must not have happened? The woman was just making, or the victim was just making it up. Misogyny is why, obviously. Now, do false accusations exist in pretty much every single area of crime? Yes, of course. It's sadly just a fact of life that people will lie. However, they are the minority and they're not as common as people think. especially when it comes to rape accusations, for example. I've broken down the stats before in previous videos, but a man is far more likely to be raped by another man than falsely accused of rape by a woman, but no one ever wants to talk about that. So many men feel the need to strongly focus on false rape accusations because they want to cast doubt on the validity of real accusations too, because it benefits them to live in a society where sexual violence against women is not taken seriously or believed. Kate Harding suggests that based on the best data available, we can assume that somewhere between 92 and 98% of the time, a person reporting a rape is telling the truth. And so when people entirely focus on false accusations, you're ignoring the much bigger problem and punishing the 98% for the actions of maybe the 2%. Well, actually, even more than that, because only about half of rape accusations, if not less, are reported. Therefore, if 2% of reports are fake, that means 98% of the others are real, plus another, 50% of people who've been... Basically, what I'm saying is, that means over 100 times as many women are being raped as making false rape accusations. Maybe more. I don't... hang on, I'm bad with percentages. Tell me what that is in the comments. I can't think off the top of my head. Yet people still don't want to believe women, and it's frustrating as hell. The bigger problem here is violence against women, and sexual violence against women, and it not being taken seriously. There are always going to be bad actors out there, but you can't punish actual victims who are the majority because of the actions of a few outliers. Kate Harding also points out a majorly flawed study that men's rights activists often like to quote on this topic. So she writes that, take one of men's rights movement's favourite citations, for example, a 1994 study by Eugene Cannon of 104 sexual assault complaints made to a single police department in the Midwest. Of those, Cannon declared 41% were false. However, a critique from 2007 rightly pointed out that Cannon describes no effort to systemize his own evaluation of the police reports. For example, by listing details or facts that he used to evaluate the criteria used by police to draw their conclusions. Nor does Cannon describe any effort to compare his evaluation to those reports to that of second independent research, providing a reliability analysis. This violates a cardinal rule of science, a rule designed to ensure that observations are not simply the reflection of the bias of the observer. And so as Kate summarised about this case, all the Cannon study teaches us is that the detectives in one police department in one Midwestern town believed fewer than 60% of the people who reported rapes to them, and there are a lot of reasons why that might be. That Cannon, the researcher, also just made up his own mind based on gut instinct. Oh, don't believe that one. Do believe that one. There was no system to it. It's not in any way a valid study, and we cannot extrapolate from that data. It is so entirely flawed. One of the many reasons that certain stories were believed to be false accusations was pointed out in a study by Lonsway, Archambault, and Lissac, and they pointed out that many victims will recant when faced with apparent skepticism on the part of the investigator and the intimidating prospect of having to take a polygraph examination. Yet such a recantation does not necessarily mean that the original report was false. It will probably, however, lead to police unfounding the original report. We also have to consider the fact that a man falsely accused of rape isn't always falsely accused because the woman is lying. In a lot of cases of false accusation if you will, the woman was actually raped and assaulted. There was a rape and assault, but the police investigate and find the wrong person, usually because it was carried out by a stranger, right? Evidence suggests that a lot of this actually has to do with racist biases in policing systems, which see black men in particular falsely accused of a multitude of crimes more often than any other group, especially in America. This is just another example of why our feminism needs to be intersectional and why we need to consider race in this as well, and not just gender inequalities, but racial inequalities too. If you want to find out more about why feminism should be intersectional and why we just need feminism in general, I do have a great video on it, which is very well researched but incredibly underwatched, which I will leave in the source document as well. So again, in this apparent 2% of false accusations, a lot of them aren't even because a woman was lying and making things up because she wanted to punish a man for no reason. It's because the police system is flawed. there is racism within the police system. This is just a fact, you know, and other things, other flaws as well. Jack is one of these people, though, who seems to think that A, you just get convicted of rape with no evidence at all, and B, false rape accusations are way more common than they actually are. He's just very wrong. He also makes this quite scary suggestion that when someone is accused of rape, charged with rape, and convicted with rape, he thinks either the rapist's name should be kept from the public, or both the name of the victim and perpetrator should be released to the public.
But, you know, this is pretty common sense shit, guys. Like, at the very least, you can't have it one way, but the other way at the same time. Either both of them are public or both of them are private. You shouldn't have one person have that much power and leverage, especially, like I said before, when you consider this kind of thing with no evidence whatsoever, you can still do this publicly. Unbelievable, man. It's like in your country, but here, you don't need any of that. It's like nonsense. You need nothing at all.
I have to completely disagree with this. Victims need protecting, and often when a person is accused of rape and their name is released to the public, it's to warn other people of what a danger they are, or often to see if other victims come forward, because most of the time, in cases of rape and sexual assault, it is not a one-off occurrence, and we saw this with Jack. When Jack was convicted of raping one woman, another woman came forward and said, oh crap, maybe now my experience will be finally believed, and she went to the police finally. If you keep a rapist anonymous, it just enables them to get away with other crimes they've committed in the past or keep committing them. You're not keeping the public safe because women and other potential victims don't know who to avoid and who to stay away from, and that they might be a danger. Jack also keeps saying over and over that you apparently don't need any evidence to prosecute someone of rape in Canada, which is obviously trying to discredit his own victim, but he's forgetting that 1, witness testimony is evidence. The testimony of the person accusing him is evidence. Their experience and their memories do matter. They are important. And 2, he did admit to a lot of the stuff, like filming her videos, so in that case, his own testimony was against him as well. And 3, chances are they may have also had video evidence in his case. And 4, no one is convicted for no reason. People clearly believed his victim and the evidence she had. People aren't just convicted on a whim. These are long drawn-out court cases that are incredibly traumatic for the victim. All that said, I think we can agree that false accusations and false prosecutions are entirely wrong, and they should be stopped. Like, no one's applauding someone for making a false accusation. They are completely wrong. Again, to quote Kate Harding, just as one rape is too many, so is one false conviction of an innocent person. Unfortunately, the chief strategies we employ to avoid trying and convicting innocent people accused of rape, for example, distrust of women's testimonies, victim blaming, trivialization and denial, neither prevent false rape accusations nor offer actual survivors of sex crimes any real hope of justice. We need to change the way we think about sexual violence to better protect the rights of both victims and the accused. Men like Jack, and he did it in this video, try and defend themselves by saying it's just a he said, she said, and Kate writes that that's exactly what rape is. One person says, I don't want sex right now, and the other says, you don't get to decide that. It's ridiculous to act as though there's never any way to determine who's telling the truth when two people have conflicting stories. Finally, Jack, towards the end of the video, states that people who make false accusations should go to jail, but that'll never happen, except it does happen and it is already a crime in many countries, including the UK and I believe Canada, where he is as well. People who lie can be arrested and convicted for either perverting the course of justice and or wasting police time, but this happens rarely because guess what? False accusations are so damn rare. But it does happen. Let's take a look briefly at some of his other videos now. This is a video about body count, which is a disgusting term that I really hate. It takes something as normal as having consensual sexual partners and turns it into something which sounds shameful, like you're doing something wrong. People use body count to describe something like how many people has someone killed, how many people died in a war, for example. So to turn that around and use it to be about sexual partners makes it seem like having a sexual partner is an inherently negative or harmful thing, and it's just not. Jack goes into watching this video looking for flaws in women. Like, straight off the bat, you have this woman who says she's only had one boyfriend but has never had sex, and then a few, minutes later, Jack is like, oh, this is such a clever way to manipulate women into talking about this, but look at them all, they've all slept with double the people than they've had relationships with, which is one, evidently untrue because we literally just saw it, and two, so what? Let people have consensual sex. At least they're not going around raping people like some people do.
One boyfriend time here. Okay, only one. And the last question is, your body count is the same number of your boyfriends?
No, my body count is 0.
0.
First of all, this is a really smart way to ask a body count in a backdoor kind of way, right? Because first you ask the boyfriends and then you ask if it's the same. And if they say no, that is implied that no, they've slept around more outside of relationships. So if they've slept with 3 people, they're like, no, it's not the same. They've slept with more, probably 5, 6, maybe even 10. And so far, each of the girls that have admitted their body count have both had a body count double to the amount of people they've dated. So basically, both of them said they had 3 boyfriends, but their body counts were 6 and 7, I believe. So as a rule of thumb, so far, I guess you can say that, you know, girls have a body count 2 times how many relationships they've been in. Okay, 4 times. So we got 2 times, 5 times, and 4 times. You know, watching this video kind of sucks because ideally, guys, you know, in a perfect world, you meet a traditional woman with like a low body count, and you even kind of like romanticize Europe. I assume this is somewhere in Europe where you think, oh, the women in Europe, they have lower body counts. And I actually had a friend, he lived in Romania, I think it was, Romania or Poland, and he said that all the girls there only had a body count of 5. Basically, like, up until 5, it's kind of like, you know, cats have 9 lives, right? They don't have 10 lives, they have 9. In Romania and some of these countries in Europe, they have 5 lives. So they can basically run unlimited bodies up until 5. Once they hit 5, they're like, okay, next one is husband. Like, no more than 5. After 5, that's too much. And it's an interesting difference between North America, where women are encouraged to have high body counts, like 15, 20, sometimes even higher than that. And, you know, if you look at statistics on body counts, the higher the body count is on a woman, more likely to divorce. So incrementally, as body count goes up, the likelihood that they will get a divorce later on in life goes up as well. And I think that the cutoff point is like 6. After 6, it's very significant. So basically, any body count in a woman over 6 is likely to end up in a divorce. And by likely, like, all body count statistics aside, 50% of marriages end in divorce anyways. So on top of the 50%, now you have an even more likelihood of divorce. That's pretty problematic, man. That's sketch. So I understand why a lot of guys don't get married.
Oh, and he's so damn delusional here. He just, it's frustrating. America in particular, I don't actually know about Canada, but I know because he's saying North America, like just the United States, is way more puritanical about sex than Europe in general. Not always, but in general. In a lot, but obviously not all European countries, people are way more comfortable with women being confident in their sexuality, there's less shame, and it's not stigmatized as much. It is way more normal. So he is just talking out of his bum here, except when it comes to Romania. This is his one example, and it is probably one of the few exceptions in Europe. Romania literally scores the lowest in all of Europe for gender equality. There's a reason that people like Rushvi and Andrew Tate love it there, and it's definitely one of the outliers in Europe. Women will be shamed for their sexuality there because women are treated as lower class citizens than men. There's also a massive issue with his stats here. Looking at trends in statistics can be interesting, but we have to remember that it's often a case of these factors cause the stats to look like this and cause these trends, rather than if you fall into this category of stats, you will do X, Y, and Z, you know? And that's a basic misunderstanding of statistics, which I've spoken about plenty before, so I won't repeat myself too much, but it just shows he has like absolutely no scientific literacy at all. Correlation does not equal causation, and correlation does not equal prescription either. That's a massive thing we have to remember. There's just so many clips here of Jack shaking his head at women saying like, ooh, that's a shame, oh no, blah, blah, blah. It's ridiculous, it's absolutely pathetic. These are women who have presumably had consensual, fulfilling sexual experiences with 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 men, whatever. Who cares? Who cares? Let them have their fun. They're adult women doing what they want. I don't think it's a bad thing. And Jack's boasting in all his... And Jack's such a hypocrite because he's posting all his videos about like, oh, I've got the numbers of hundreds of women. I've slept with hundreds of women. I doubt that, but you know what I mean. He brags about all these women. He's going, like, and the thing is, his whole act of getting hundreds of women's numbers and taking them out on dates and trying to have sex with them, the way he's doing that is commodifying women and degrading women and reducing them down to just objects that he uses and discards, right? That is far more degrading and harmful than a woman just enjoying herself with 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 partners she actually likes. Do you know what I mean? I mean, we can't know for sure, but I would wager that, in my opinion, these women likely have more self-respect and respect for their partners than Jack has ever shown for any of his sexual partners. So there's only one person here who should be ashamed of their sexual behaviour, and it's not these women. There's another video as well where he talks about this double standard, and it's so damn stupid, it's frustrating. And once again, it all comes back to a complete misunderstanding of what it means to pair bond. These men are just so dumb.
And that list of 20 red flags that I published for free in my upcoming book, number 11 was talking about notch count and female promiscuity, and a lot of people lost their minds. Men were very confused. They were saying things like, well, if men can do it, then why can't women too? And women were saying, well, if men can do it, why can't women too? And I'm going to explain why in this video with some cold hard fact. Let's hop right into it. The main reason is it boils down to her ability to pair bond over a long-term basis, and dissatisfaction reported in the relationship for both men and women goes up dramatically as her notch count goes up. Interestingly, those figures don't correlate to men. The biggest difference between men and women specifically is men are born as nothing. We need to create value. We need to learn competency skills. Men generally are viewed as success objects by the world and by women. Women, on the other hand, are more valued for their beauty. I think it was observed by Dr. Warren Farrell in his book, The Myth of Male Power. He said that women are sex objects and men are success objects.
This is a really good point, and a lot of guys forget about this because, especially when you're young, it's very hard to feel like you're doing good in life as a man. And this is actually nature's way of incentivizing you to put in effort. Essentially, women are given value at birth because men primarily focus on physical attraction when it comes to looking for a partner.
So clearly the basis of their entire argument is wrong, right? But let's, for a moment, hypothetically say that it's not. It is, but let's pretend. So what? So what if a woman can't or doesn't want to pair bond anymore? Who gives a damn? Why does that affect you? It doesn't matter. So what if a woman wants to stay single and have casual consensual sex? So what if a woman doesn't want to get married or ends up divorced? Jack Densmore isn't married. Does this somehow make him less of a decent human being? No. All his other qualities do that. But for some reason, men like him see a woman being single or unmarried or even just happy and confident in her sexuality as being some kind of moral failing. And it's absolutely ridiculous. It all comes back to this misogynistic idea that women and their sexuality should be men's property in some way or another. It's awful. He literally actually him and the man he's reacting to, they both just keep saying the misogynistic parts out loud and proudly. Women are sex objects. It's sickening. They're not even hiding it anymore. No, we're not. Again, how is this stuff allowed on YouTube? How is this not literal hate speech against women? I don't, like, how is this monetized? And I mean, no wonder men like Jack think they can get away with rape when the only value they see in a woman is their ability to provide sex for them. And with the commodification and dehumanization of women that they consistently show, it's no wonder that they seem to think if a woman won't provide this value to them, then they should just take it, right? Completely makes sense. It's disgusting.
We could die. We could trip and tear our ACL, and then we're basically useless. We can't hunt. We can't feed ourselves anymore. Some Vikings could come into the village and decide to just attack us and burn our place down in the middle of the night, steal our food. And if we manage to survive the attack and not die in some kind of war, then we might die just from starvation, right? So men are basically always looking to spread their seed because they never know if their time is up. And this is how we were programmed, which is why we have such a
short refractory period on coming. This is why we also can be attracted to women based on just seeing them within like 10 to 15 seconds and know if we want to have sex with them. This is why we are designed to be able to reproduce multiple times as opposed to only being able to drop a nut once a year. Basically, we just need to spread our seed at all times. And this is like biologically overdriving us, right?
He makes all these completely stupid points about how sex is different for men because they might get attacked by Vikings at any time and die, and how men just totally want to spread their seed, which is why they have such a short refractory period after ejaculating. Except men don't have a short refractory period, and especially as men get older, their refractory period gets a hell of a lot longer. You know who does have a short refractory period after orgasm? Women. But they don't want to talk about that, do they? So apparently men having a short refractory period means that they evolved to have lots of sex with lots of partners, but a woman who actually has a short refractory period has evolved to not want sex with more than one partner, because apparently refractory periods matter for men but not women. This makes no sense. He's talking in half-truths and sometimes just straight up lies and misinformation and misunderstanding everything. It is stupid. None of his conclusions make any sense. It's actually ridiculous. And if he does want to talk about physiological causes of attitudes towards sex, then he's completely ignoring the massive variation in human beings to begin with. Again, not only the physiological differences that make some people more likely to want monogamy or polyamory or serial monogamy or whatever, but he's ignoring everything else too. I was reading an interesting discussion the other day about how a lot of people are predisposed to love the smell of babies and children, and what's happening there is that the babies are releasing pheromones, the adults respond to it, which we just think, oh, they smell nice, but really it's having a kind of like a reaction in our brain essentially that makes us want to look after them and protect them and love them, and it also drives people to want to have babies of their own. I don't have that response, and apparently a lot of other people don't either. We're in the minority amongst humans, but it absolutely happens. Our response to those pheromones is either indifference or disgust. Like when I smell a baby or child, I physically feel a little bit sick. I think it's a revolting odor, and it does absolutely nothing for me. I don't get those overwhelming protective instinct, like no more than you would for like, you know, I mean, like obviously I don't want kids to be harmed, but I don't personally want to take care of them either. I'm like, no, someone else can do that. And again, there is an evolutionary reason for this. Not everyone in a community was meant to reproduce themselves or be caregivers to children themselves. Some of us were better suited to being general community caretakers. Some people evolved to be better at spending time developing skills and learning and protecting and teaching others rather than spending their time and energy being pregnant or actively looking after a baby or child. So the desire to not want kids is also completely normal, and there's a reason for this in terms of evolutionary psychology, which Jack loves to keep going on and on about. And not wanting kids can very much be a physiological thing that we evolved in order to help communities grow and thrive, right? Does that make sense? I hope so. So if Jack's whole argument is that all women biologically want to have kids, so they need to be selective about which man they sleep with and therefore shouldn't sleep around and therefore shame women who do sleep around, then surely the same argument could be made that, well, my biology shows that I don't want to have kids and I may not physically be able to have kids because of my uterus issues and stuff. Therefore, am I not genetically predisposed to just not wanting to have a kid? And therefore, my sexual choices of how many partners I have or don't have should have no moral consequences on, you know, if I have baby. His argument makes no sense, so it's hard to find the logic. It's so stupid. And he just ignores people. But the point is, even if you tried to make that argument with him and it made any sense, which it doesn't anyway, he'd never agree to it because, let's be honest, him and men like him do not actually care about biology or evolution or monogamy or marriage or healthy relationships or raising children. They don't give a damn about that. What they care about is controlling women and policing women's bodies. And that's all this whole stupid body count conversation is really about. Controlling and policing women and our bodies and our sexualities. That is all. There's a great article, which I've got linked again in the source document, where Louise Firth, who works for the amazing charity Refuge, who I have fundraised for a couple of times, they're absolutely amazing. The work they do is incredible. It's important. It should be spoken about and promoted more. Please support them. They're great. But anyway, Louise says, this trend of talking about body count and whatever exists purely to shame women. If a man is incessantly questioning his partner about her previous relationship history, judging her and attempting to shame her, this could be a warning sign for coercive control. The author of the article in general, Maya Oppenheim, goes on to say that this newfound obsession with body count feels like an example of misogyny pushing its way back into the mainstream. Body count discourse often goes hand in hand with slut-shaming of women and gendered double standards, routinely hinged on male entitlement and biologically deterministic fallacies that posit men have higher sex drives than women. Meanwhile, in the same article, Callum Hood, head of research at the Centre for Countering Digital Hate, explains it is part of a broader regressive project that argues that women should not enjoy the same freedoms that men do, in this case by arguing that women who have sex with multiple partners are worth less than those who don't. Jessica Valenti also wrote about this in her book, He's a Stud, She's a Slut, and 49 Other Double Standards Every Woman Should Know. And she writes... I'm sorry, I'm talking quickly because my camera battery is very low and I'm trying to get as much done as I can. It makes sense when you think about what the purpose of the word slut is. Controlling women through shame and humiliation. Women's bodies are always the ones that are being vied over for control, whether it's rape, reproductive rights, or violence against women. It's our bodies that are the battleground, not men's. And I think a lot of this not only comes from a need to control, but massive insecurity on these men's parts. For example, listen to this.
Right? When men see a woman that a lot of men want to be with, they're actually disgusted and repulsed, right? But when women see a man that a lot of other women desire, it serves as proof that this is the valuable male that they want to reproduce with.
It's not repulsion he's feeling, it's the fact that he knows he can't compete because he's an unwashed goblin with no intelligence or charisma who wouldn't know how to be kind to people if he tried. So it's not that he's disgusted by a woman being desirable. He's bitter, jealous, and angry because he knows that a woman who has options would never actually pick him over anyone else. It's pure jealousy.
Here's where this is important. Women are the ones that are initiating divorce 80% of the time, okay? So if women only initiated divorce, let's say 30, 40% of the time, then this wouldn't be as big of a deal. But the reason women often initiate divorce is because they lose attraction to their partner. And the reason they lose attraction to their partner is because they are unable to bond to that partner like they would have been able to bond to that partner if they had a lower body count.
This is just factually incorrect, and once again, he's talking out of his bottom. We've already discussed why the number of sexual partners does not affect a human's ability to pair bond, but this also isn't the main reason for divorce. Statistically, the most common reasons for divorce are things like infidelity, financial troubles, arguments and pure communication, abuse in relationships. This isn't because a woman had a couple of sexual partners before she got married. There are bigger issues at play there, but I've spoken about it in other videos, so I won't go into it again. I guess to summarize though, in the past, men could treat women as badly as they wanted because the woman couldn't leave. Now women can leave when they're treated poorly and men are mad about it and they're like, oh, this must be a flaw with the woman and not in my behavior towards her. You know?
You can't live in some utopian society where men and women are equal and there's no such thing as biological differences or different reproductive strategies or different hormone balances. And it's silly, you know, you can't have your cake and eat it too. So the same people that say, no, women can do anything that men can, also probably argue that body count doesn't matter, but it does.
And he's not even hiding his sexism, is he? He's not. There's a real irony here to this reaction channel being called Honest Men when he spends so long spreading misinformation and just straight up lying to his audience. Okay, let's move on to the very last channel now because I cannot cope with much more of this. We are nearly done, I promise. We're nearly done. So finally, Jack has a dedicated dating advice channel, which is thankfully not doing too well, but I'm still shocked it's on YouTube. But crazy, right? Who'd have thought a convicted rapist would give bad dating advice? These have to be some of the worst thumbnails I've ever seen on YouTube, and they're also some of the most poorly made videos I've ever seen on YouTube. They are both lazy, ugly, boring, and repetitive. I think I said both. They're all of the above, you know what I'm trying to say. So much of the stuff in these videos is the same content he's been putting out for years. There's nothing really new or interesting other than the fact that he's now using these incredibly hideous graphics to help him. And he also intersperses all of these videos with sexually provocative photos of women, which is annoying as hell because he has spent his entire career berating these women for taking photos like this, but he's more than willing to use them in his videos and exploit them when he thinks he can earn money from them. It's gross. I am going to blur these images though because YouTube. There's a lot of photos of bums and half-bare breasts, so yeah.
I did the math. Are you willing to spend 4.5 hours to get a girlfriend? I think it's pretty obvious. Yeah, that's a really good deal. Really quick, let me remind you why you're here. Your primary goals are to get dates, sex, a long-term relationship, or a friend with benefits. You want results without wasting time. You need to gain experience and skill. That way, this is easy and you can do it over and over again if you'd like to. Go on a fucking ride to the beach. How great would that be, man? You and your boys there too? She has a friend. Her friend's okay, but her boyfriend's cool. So now, like, you hang out with the boyfriend and the girls, they just like talk to each other so you and the homie can just have a beer, you know? How many times have you went out with a friend and then your girlfriend and his girlfriend talk to each other? Finally, I don't have to deal with it. Oh, fuck, she's annoying sometimes. How cool would that be? To go to the Swiss Alps, you and your baddie, you guys snowboard all day and you show her how to do it because most girls don't know how to snowboard, which is cute, you know? I like that about them. If a girl knows how to snowboard already, it's like, okay, who showed you that? It's like, you know when you hook up with a girl and she's just really good at sucking your knob, you're like, who taught you how to do that, you know? Anyways, I like girls that don't know how to do stuff, so I can show them how. Okay, look at this chart, guys. This is one of my best charts. I know I say that every video, but fuck, I'm awesome. Okay, also, you need to approach 50 women total. So in your entire life, you might have approached maybe like, I don't know, 5 girls, maybe 0, maybe 2, I don't know. And I have a lot of videos like this in my course. So if you actually want to see me do this step by step, like this video's amazing. This one's great. This one's super funny. This one was classic. She's with a friend. She's not in the picture, but she's back there. If you want to watch me do it and learn that way, just buy my program.
It really is just making poor, low quality, low effort content. I mean, some of them he uses paint, of all things, paint. And he genuinely believes that this is good, high quality content. I think he's actually delusional, I swear. He really does just keep saying the most basic stuff and thinking he's so smart for it. And then he just repeats that same thing over and over for 25 minutes and then makes the same video 7 times. It's low effort slop.
You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength. Think about that. What does that mean to you? You have power over your mind, but you do not have power over outside events. So if it's raining and there's a thunderstorm and weather is just going crazy outside your window, you don't have control over that. That is out of your control. But what you do have control of is your mind. How do you react to that weather? Do not get upset at rejection or take it personally, because we cannot choose our external circumstances or outcomes. We can only choose how we respond to them. Okay.
And honestly, half of these videos are just him grunting at these photos of random women. It really is pathetic.
Look, Europe, Swiss Alps, bro. Oh my God, come on. Are you serious? Stop it. Oh my God, come on. What? Oh, the sun. The sun. It's winter right now, but the sun is there wherever she is. Oh my, you get my point, dude?
I feel like as he's got older, he's been trying to make more and more content, but he's getting less and less views, and so he's just getting more and more desperate and pathetic. But he's also, as he gets older, getting lazier with his content, and you can really, really see, and it's not paying off for him. I might feel sorry for him if this was happening to anyone else, but I don't, because he's such an awful person. I said I was going to make this last section quick, and most of the content on this channel is just repeating what we've seen from him before, so I won't go into it, and I'll just leave this here. In conclusion, I've got a little grumpy Kyra here who wants some attention, so she's having a cry. But yeah, overall, this was just a very frustrating video to make, because I don't understand why more people aren't talking about this man and aren't worried about him and the content he's putting out. It is not only full of misinformation, but he's dangerous, he's harmful, he is a convicted criminal. I don't understand why YouTube still allows and monetizes this kind of content on the platform. I believe he is a danger to his viewers. He is a danger to YouTube's audience. But anyway, please let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. If you would like to see the script notes for this video, you can go see them over on Patreon, where you can support me for as low as $1 a month, and you get access to that. And I also have some cool exclusive stickers and prints and other little arty bits available for people who support me at the higher tiers. I do have merch available, and I have some really cool new designs available now if you want to check them out. And also, my first poetry book, Reflections on Healing, is now available as an ebook on Amazon. So that's all the shameless self-promotion that I feel like I need to do at the end of this video. If you're new here, it would be wonderful if you subscribe. Please leave a comment, leave a like. That sort of stuff really helps with the video. But yeah, let's just keep talking about this stuff, educating people, and make sure people know who they're watching and the types of content they're consuming and who is creating it. I think that's really important. But for now, thank you so much for watching. I'm going to take this little one. Should we go for a play, baby? Yeah, do you want to play with the toy? Do you? Do you want to play with the toy? She's so damn cute. I love her. And I've been captured, haven't I? I've been captured. Can I get a kiss? Thank you. Oh, good job, baby. Baby with a belly. Oh, it's adorable. Right. Thank you all for watching. Thank you for your patience. I appreciate you so much. I hope you enjoyed this video. It was so much work. I'll see you again soon. Thank you. Yes. A kiss. Thank you. Thank you. I love you. Thank you so much. Isn't she perfect? Oh, yes. Oh, smoochies.